All right, all right. Good morning, good evening. Welcome, one and all. It'll be a great time today as we stream some Warhammer World Championship games of the group stage, rounds 5 and 6. And we'll also be taking a look at the challenge pages and talking about the results from each individual group. So those of you who've been keeping up with the tournament, we can kind of go through and see who's moving on and so forth. But yeah, let's go without further ado to the first series, which is going to be Black versus Bird, starting off with some Wood Elves versus Lizardmen as I load into the battle here. Welcome one and all. Good to see you all here today. Hopefully the audio levels are okay. I'm actually going to tune this down just a little bit. Yeah, I don't know what happened a while back. There was a Windows update and my microphone settings I haven't been able to fully recover them. My microphone has been super quiet for some reason, which is really frustrating. But an excuse for me to potentially upgrade my audio equipment anyway. That being said, let's take a look at this battle here. Make sure I remember how to stream. Take the overlay off. Welcome you all here today. Yes, indeed. Dov Country. It is the Dov Man. Yeah, I haven't been streamed in quite some time. Unfortunately, I've been dealing with quite a bit in the real life, but let's not focus on that today. Let's focus on some beautiful Warhammer gameplay. We've got some Dryads up front here with Colonel Guards out on the flanks, a bunch of Glade Guards mixed in, looks like all 5 Starfire Shafts, Wild Hunters of Kurnos, along with more Wild Riders, and then a Spellweaver of Shadows up front. Be doing some kind of skirmish kiting a little bit, maybe with that Melkoth Mystifying Miasma, and that's basically it. So no big boom spells, no Pit of Shades or anything like that. Not that you would necessarily need Pit of Shades against Lizardmen, but anyway, we've got Krokgar way out on the far flank with some Cold Ones, Ferals, and some Spear Riders as well over here. Similar, we've got some Spear Riders, regular Cold Ones, Feral Cold Ones, Chameleon Stalkers as well, Skink Cohort through the center, one Jav mixed in, and some more Cold One Spear Riders, Cold One Riders. So definitely going all in on the cavalry, which I definitely appreciate. And I do think is definitely a good way to approach this matchup. I think Cold Ones are probably the best mid-tier cavalry in the game right now. Generally trade very well into targets, and the fact that you can take so many between the two variants, plus a few clever girls, makes a lot of bodies for the Wood Elves to try and deal with. But Wood Elves are going to move up and try and take this position here. Get that conquest objective under control. While Lizardmen very patiently trying to get into position. They are taking some damage on these Cold One Spear Riders from those bows, which is not particularly ideal, but not the worst. Wild Hunters of Kurnos are going to come out and get hit by the precursor grenades here. Let's see if it does much damage. Yeah, unfortunately, due to the speed and the spread, doesn't look like those precursor bombs were able to do much damage. Did a little bit to the Wild Hunters, but not enough to pay for this Cold One Spear Rider, who's getting absolutely savaged by bows here. Melkoth Mystifying Miasma as well. Looks like Krokgar is going to move in, though, and the attack commences from all flanks. Ooh, nice Hand of the Gods. Absolutely deletes one Starfire Shaft from the side. Very nicely done. Glad they upgraded those magic missile abilities. Hand of the Gods is definitely one. Positionally, if you get it down the side of a unit, can absolutely wreck them, but also these Cold One Spear Riders, once again, getting wrecked. Unfortunately, the penetration hasn't been ideal. But now it looks like the bread will be buttered, as the Glade Guards cannot run anymore. Wild Riders are able to protect from some, but it's also going to cost them as Cold One Spear Riders respond, which is not a fight that the Wild Riders really want. But the Clever Girls are also going to come forward, try and interrupt as more Wild Riders respond to this big pitched cavalry engagement in the back. Spellweaver of Shadows also dumping in more Melkoth Mystifying Miasma. Cold One Riders moving through, trucking down those Glade Guards, but they've got some Wild Riders in hot pursuit. Million Stalkers following up then, but not doing a ton. Used up their precursors. Definitely need to move into melee here. You have the speed and poison to be able to keep up with those Starfires, so another unit that can potentially come and compromise as the Spear Riders deal with the Wild Riders. And a couple of fresh Spear Riders moving in just about at the right time. Try and do that. Let's see if they can. Skink Priest, Lore of Beasts also hanging around with some flocks of doom. has a really nice Flock of Doom over here right by Krokar as well. Could just get absolutely nasty value hitting all these units. But let's see, it might be on cooldown right now. But the Lizardmen have pretty successfully collapsed this side of the battlefield. The other side is definitely going more in the Wood Elves' favor, and the balance power also going slightly in the Wood Elves' favor, but Krokar definitely pretty dangerous. I mean, he can just kind of die to Eternal Guard if he gets ground down too hard here. But there's a nice upgraded Flock of Doom hits both of the Wild Riders remaining here. Wild Hunters of Kurnos are basically done for. They're completely surrounded and soon to be routed. Krokar, though, doing just fine. Yeah, rumbling and tumbling, and he's trying to pull through these Wild Riders. He should just be getting some attacks in. But the Wild Riders looks like are going to rout. That being said, Starfire Shafts back online. A bunch of them just rallied in a big pile there. At Hand of the Gods, the positioning not nearly as effective. Not going to get nearly as good a contact on that Blade Guard, rather. And Krokar himself does not have a shield, so he is quite vulnerable to being gadded down by accurate Elven arrows. But let's see here. Hold on, Riders. Yeah, this whole mobile troop here rallying to the side, gonna come try and finish off these archers. If they can finish off the archers, Rocky G and the rest could potentially carry here. Eternal Guards at the end of the day won't live if they get killed by a pile, but there are still some healthy Dryads over chasing out in the distance, running down some skinks. Could potentially come back and make a difference in the late game. Wondering, like, why is the balance of power favoring Wood Elves so heavily here? And part of it is also that the Spellweaver has taken 0 damage. Probably has quite a bit of Winds of Magic left too, although the balance power doesn't account for that. But let's see, Blade Guards here getting run down. These Cold One Riders, yeah, only 27 attack. They actually aren't making the best contact here. Once their charge bonus wears off, the Elves actually do have pretty solid melee defense, 27. Not bad at all for a regular skirmish-type unit, so in prolonged combat, the Cold Ones won't do amazingly well there. Only relying on that charge and mass and speed to get it done. But the Wood Elf leadership comes through, and it's looking like it's going to be a victory for them. But let's see. Good evening, hello, welcome. Oh yeah, beautiful charge by these Wild Riders coming in to crush the skinks. Starfire Shafts firing. Much fitting in with the terrain here, color scheme-wise. But, yeah, Krokar not going quietly into that good night. He's definitely hanging around right now. Starfires, like I said, they do have the accuracy and the armor-piercing damage to take him down. But it's going to be a matter of having... Yep, looks like Lizardmen going to throw in the towel there. They don't have anything else to run down those archers, and they're just going to pin cushion Krokar as soon as he gets free. But Black, very well played to him. Did a great job, you know, responding to enemy threats, keeping those Blade Guards protected for the most part. Yeah, 3 of them getting really nice value. Another one pretty respectable. Only one of them doesn't pay for itself, so definitely what you would want to see. This is a build where he didn't over-invest in range units. He definitely had quite a bit of protection, right? And one important thing to think about anytime you're fighting Lizardmen is that the speed of skinks is definitely a factor. Like I was talking about the chameleons there potentially being able to run down Starfires. It's one reason why Dryads are so great in this matchup. There's a lot of reasons why Dryads are really a nice pick in this matchup. They're a nice pick in a lot of matchups, but particularly here, trade pretty well against skinks. They're a little bit expensive, but they also have pretty good speed, so they can kind of compete in a foot race with skinks as well, should you get outmaneuvered, and just generally nice unit to have here. A nice combined arms win from Black here. He got some value on his cavalry, mostly pushed into a protection role, but one of them actually does pay for themselves. It's quite nice to see. For Bird here, yeah, I mean, the build makes a lot of sense. There's absolutely no criticism from me on that front. I do think he engaged a little bit piecemeal at the start. A little bit of a mistake letting some early damage on those Cold One Spear Riders. Had he been able to really effectively bring them all at the same time, I think Black would have struggled a little bit more to keep his archers protected. But because some of the Lizardmen units came in individually, Black was able to very efficiently focus with his line of archers, up winning out that battle. But let's see who can win out on the series. Let me go back over to the drive and download the next replay here. Yeah, with lots of potential events coming up, big releases from Creative Assembly, I figured why not dust off the streaming skills. Plus, I really haven't been able to cover as many of the Warhammer World Championship replays as I would have liked. And I figured, you know what, if I have like 2 to 3 hours free time, you know, every 3 or 4 days, which is what it seems like is happening right now, instead of investing that time in recording an individual replay, why not do a stream where I can cover a bunch? So that's what we're doing today. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Hopefully some of you after the fact are going to enjoy as well, but let's go to the next one. Yes. Got some familiar faces here in chat. Gonna be a fun one today, folks. Yeah. All right. Now we've got High Elves versus Tomb Kings. Sea Lord.
The Sea Patrol shall give
and we've got Cara Dran and a bunch of beautiful ships companies. Very much DLC build here. Got some Illyrian Reaver archers, a Sun Dragon, some regular archers, Mage of Life. Yeah. Other than, you know, big expensive character, Dragon, and Phoenix, and then, you know, mid-tier Dragon, a lot being saved on some of these kind of lower tier high elf units. But Skeleton Horsemen over here hidden in the woods. Got Katep here. Interesting choice, but I kind of like it. Double Necrosphinx. Wow. Haven't seen that in a while, but potentially very, very dangerous. A couple of Ushabti. 4 of them, in fact. So very much looking at a rush build here. More Skeleton Horsemen over here, including an Archer. Skeleton Horse Archers are, I think, one of the only units that are, like, comparable to Elven Archers in terms of their range. Yeah, 140 range on them, which is really good. Unfortunately, they are slower than basically any other skirmish cavalry in the game, traditional skirmish cavalry in the game, at 76 speed, which is not great, but nonetheless, Skeleton Horse Archers, nice unit to have, certainly. But let's see here. Adran gonna try and get his Chilling Aura range to slow down these Skeleton Horsemen. They are just Skeleton Horsemen, though, so it's kind of a boondoggle to be chasing. Not exactly a useful use of their time, but getting some intel at least, kind of breaking up this advance. But here on the Peak Pass, it looks like Tomb King is going to get their single entities up on this hill and then try and engage downward. The tricky thing is that it's almost on the Tomb Kings to be a little bit reactive here, right? Because basically they are going to have to just mirror where these flying characters go with the Necrosphinx and then respond as soon as they try and kill Katep, because he is incredibly vulnerable, and you've got 2 ground single entities versus 3 flying single entities, and we see a really nice breath attack there land on those Skeleton Warriors. So definitely going to be tricky. And it also means that you know, you can't, like, proactively go engage somewhere with these Necrosphinxes. Really not going to be doing a ton. That being said, you know, the Tomb Kings can just rush down here with these Ushabtis and pretty effectively clear through this front line, I would say. Like, I don't see the Ship's Company and Archers really doing a ton to challenge. Archers will do some damage while the Ship's Company are getting mowed down, but I don't foresee this front line going well at all for the High Elves, so might as well just get it going as soon as possible. For the Tomb Kings, nice little screen here with the Skeleton Warriors on the flanks, screening the Skeleton Horsemen. But yeah, Archers right now focused on absolutely the wrong target, shooting these Skeleton Horse Archers when there's a lot more higher value targets in range. Even the Necrosphinx, I mean, 100 armor, you're not going to do a ton of damage, but you'll do enough. Depending on armor rolls and just through sheer volume of fire, we'll be able to do some damage. But yeah, it looks like now focusing the Ushabti here in the center. High Elven Dragons are maybe going to be forced into a defensive position to countercharge these Ushabti. Try and take them out, but instead might try and go protect the Archers. Not sure exactly, but ooh, they split. Potentially dangerous. Cara Dran's going to go after Katep, and Aislinn comes to bail out his Horse Archers. Yeah, we see a little Skull Storm in the center. It's going to do relatively little as it kind of just runs around in no man's land. But the Ushabti move in. Yeah, no question. They're just going to cleave through Chip's company in no time. Necrosphinx coming in to drop a little terror. And I guess if Aislinn wants to, you know, fight useless, like, low-tier cavalry, then that's fine. They can just penetrate into the back line, immediately go after those archers. The horse archer is definitely being punished here, but all the power units, look across at all the constructs here for the Tomb Kings, all basically untouched so far, so pretty rough for the High Elves. That being said, we talked about the value really is in these single entities here, so as long as this window dressing doesn't die too quickly, they should be able to try and get some value back with the big power units moving in. Now, time to kill some constructs. Yes, Garadran. The dragon moving in 2v1 on the Necrosphinx. Will it be a 3v1? This is also the issue of having to be reactive here. That, yeah, these single entities get spread out a little bit. The Sphinx Vusek does react. It's going to charge on over. But in the meantime, the Necrosphinx does take quite a bit of damage. Nice incantation of protection, though. Very well done to give some physical resistance there. And then, yeah, the Sphinx Vusek comes over and just absolutely bullies this Sun Dragon on a rear charge. So, ends up working out okay for the Tomb Kings, all things considered. They were actually able to take out one of those single entities in that fight. So, pretty well done. The archers, though, Reaver archers, are going to start to get some more value back in this kind of skirmish phase as the Kyles try and kite a little bit here, get some value from their shooting. The archers also, if they come back from route in a safe location, can turn and shoot, and again, try and get whatever value back they can. So High Elves almost playing more like Wood Elves in kind of a hit-and-run skirmish style right now. But the big single entity engagement is where so much of the value of the battle is. We're going to keep our eyes here as some awkward stutter stepping and strange targeting happens before eventually they start playing some attack animations. Yes. Yes, good. Fight. Unfortunately, Sea Lord does not have fire attacks innately, and I still am, you know, in pain that the High Elves ever had their flaming attacks removed from their dragons. Really, it helps much more than it hurts, and certainly here, well, I guess Katep is actually not weak to fire damage, but you would be getting some synergy from this flammable, right? Does he have this flammable frostfire contact effect? Anyway, Caradran's getting absolutely bullied right now by the Sphinxes, regardless of his cool frostfire contact effect. Gonna try and charge into the Zushabti maybe, but the fact that Aislinn doesn't have fire damage innately means there's no direct synergy between the two necessarily, other than, you know, Phoenix Guard. Phoenix stuff. But anyway. Let's see as the Life Mage gets caught. Caradran once again gonna get a nice rear charge. Burb, yes. Yes. Ice Fire Burb, very cool. And big Sea Dragon, very much looks like a cresting wave. Gonna come in. Yeah, the Zushabti gonna get absolutely smashed. We got a Skull Storm also popping off. And those Reaver Archers, who themselves receive a nice heal along with the characters here. Yeah, the Life Mage being able to sustain these High Elf single entities makes this an incredibly frustrating game to try and finish off for the Tomb Kings. But Katep's also completely healthy here, and the Sphinxes seem to be winning this fight. It's hard to tell over time, especially without, you know, and without healing on the Tomb King side, but it's going to be tricky. But as many single entity engagements are, it's pretty heavily RNG, basically all positioning and RNG. But especially when you get like a 2v1 here, like Caradran's actually not contributing at all, and both the Sphinxes are doing attacks into Aislinn's back. This is basically worst case scenario for the High Elves in this 2v2. And now Caradran's also going to show his back as he attempts to disengage. They're going to screen through these swordsmen. Does get back up into the air. Is there a regrowth available is the question. Life Mage is getting bullied by Katep. Oh man, you know it's a sad day when your stats are that bad that you can get bullied by your caster lord like Katep. I guess that martial prowess didn't help much as Life Mage actually may or may not get routed here. I guess through Shopti also probably had something to do with that, but have the archers here that remain. And Reaver Archer is going to charge in. Ooh, nasty miscast there. Does get an overcast Earthblood, but blows herself up in the process. Life Mage going down. And I don't think, yeah, with the support here, the fact that these Shopti are supporting, get some staggering hits and a little bit of armor-piercing damage in the side and rear, just really stacks things in favor of Tomb King's single entities. Nice screening elements come in here, but yeah, as soon as they turn and fight, Eredran just getting absolutely mauled. Chain route, and that's game. Bird is able to take that one. And just between the single entity boxing, this time Necrosphinxes were actually able to come out on top. Granted, Black's positioning orders, sometimes he wasn't necessarily directly fighting back, but at the same time, the Necrosphinxes still were able to get the job done, which is not something they're always able to do, but certainly did so here. Ushabti also getting some really nice value on the rushdown. And overall, yeah, Tomb King's build was executed how it needed to, more or less. Keep Kotep alive, let those Sphinxes and the Ushabti get the work done against the targets they are applicable against. And ultimately, yeah, I mean, Black just didn't really have a lot of answers against big armored constructs. Seems like his build was maybe geared toward other things, I mean, besides the single entities. But yeah, they just had a lot of targets to fight, a lot of big armored stuff for Bird here, which I also historically haven't had the best anti-large armor piercing tools. You know, you could take some Phoenix Guard here, but there's some other risks associated with that. But anyway, now that we've got a 1v1 on the series, let's go ahead and get to the next replay. Game 3, who can come out on top? Right. Oh yeah. Black's going Empire versus Bird's Demons of Chaos. Absolutely iconic matchup. Yeah. Thanks, Poison Ducky. Yeah. Morris had put together a list for me, like one from each group for games 5 and rounds 5 and 6. So I don't know. One of yours might have made it in there, or at least one of them certainly did. But yeah. Let's take a look here at this glorious Karl Franz build. We've got some Outriders, a bunch of Knights here, 2 Demis, including the Royal Altdorfs, and then some Empire Knights to support. A bunch of Spearmen. This build has a big thumbs up for me. Very much heavy cavalry oriented, which I appreciate. Gonna charge down some lightly armored demons. There's no armor basically in this matchup, so makes a lot of sense. We've got the Feathered Prince here leading the way for the foul forces of Chaos. Nurglings and Bloodletters, along with some Seekers out on the flanks. We've got some Furies of Slanesh as well for the armor piercing, so Knights certainly have their work cut out for them in the enemy mobility department. Yeah, basically what Black wants to do here is bait and switch his front line with his cavalry and just charge the enemy infantry with your cavalry and leave your spears back to defend against their mobility. That's going to be best chance of success. Yeah, especially if you could bypass these Nurglings and just get some nice, clean, open field charges into the Bloodletters. You're going to lose some Empire Knights in the process, but it's also your best chance to just crush them as quickly as possible. You don't have to really fight them in melee. There's no ranged element, really, besides Outriders who, yeah, they'll be able to mow down some Bloodletters if they get the opportunity. But a quick Karl charge onto these Nurglings just to get the party started. Not going to do a ton, but ooh, is he going to try and bait something out here? Ooh, he does bait the Gaze of Fate on the Altdorf Griffites. He's going to pop this, yeah, the Infernal Gateway, which will do some damage, all things considered, but it's not going to be nearly as devastating if he was able to get it on a big blob. A little Earthblood should respond to that just fine, and the resource costs will definitely favor the Empire, but the demons are lurking. They're getting a nice surround here. Yeah, this is dangerous. Like I said, you really want to just charge these Empire Knights forward, then screen the spears back to just form a wall to protect. Definitely don't want the Empire Knights eating charges from the Seekers or even charging into the Seekers, in my opinion, because you're going to get outmaneuvered there. Yeah, this Empire Knight moving into potential danger zone, but it doesn't look like either player really got effective charges there. Both have a lot to micro all over the field at the same time. Karl is chasing the Feathered Prince. We've got Bloodletters engaging here. Nurglings engaging as well. Big block of Empire Knights here in the center. Not sure what they're up to, but the fact that the Seekers didn't get an effective charge there means the Demigryph Knights can move in. Big Fury engagement. They'll jump down on these Empire Knights who not get a chance to really do anything. Yeah, this is the dangerous part where the Seekers and the Furies can just overwhelm, knock a unit out in a matter of seconds. Little narcissism there to freeze them in place as well. But Carl responds with the Altdorf Gryphites. They're going to move in. That elite anti-large will punish Seekers pretty badly. Little Reichland Runefang as well for some extra melee attack. Clear out those Furies in a hurry. And all the other Gryphites, though, the other Demigryph Knights, they get pulled out of position. And yeah, this is nasty, nasty work with these Seekers to get surround and then charge from multiple angles. Going to be absolutely devastating. Demons in the front line collapsing. Bloodletters, though, without getting charged by those Empire Knights, are feasting on Empire State troops. Yeah, let's see if those Empire Knights can effectively get a charge there, but a nice little heal on this chaotic engagement. Ooh, these Empire Knights rear charge the Seekers, which will also generate some really nice value. Very squishy Slaanesh Cav here. They meet through those Demigryph Knights, but they're going to take losses in the process. Yeah, so far, really bloody battle on both sides. Haven't really seen any one player taking full advantage yet, but another Empire Knight, and Spearman gets eaten up there. So tricky for sure. I would say, yeah, balance power now favoring the demons. I would definitely say that's true after that engagement played out. But the Empire Knights here also getting multi-attacked by Furies, or Seekers rather. Ooh, that nasty, nasty sandwich once again out in the open field. Carl trying to respond. Altdorf Gryphites seemed like they were maybe going to come down to this area, but they in fact leave. Oh, they're going to get caught by the Feathered Prince there. Little heal. Nasty miscast on that Jade Wizard. Unfortunately, that heal didn't hit anyone else, so probably was not worth it, honestly. No regrowth there. But the Outriders also still reasonably healthy. They're not going to get great contact on Feathered Prince as he's out at max range. But this Doom block of Seekers here, really, really nasty. Little blue fire into said Outriders. They've been taking damage from that seemingly over time. Carl continuing to chase Seekers. He's got to be careful not to get surrounded here. He could potentially get into a bad engagement and take a bunch of damage. But we've basically only got one healthy unit of Empire Knights here. Altdorf Gryphites have also taken a bunch of damage. Empire looking like they're in pretty rough shape here, but Empire Spearmen holding out in some different parts of the battlefield, at least temporarily. So the Feathered Prince decides to come in and terror out them. Little quick charge on these Nurglings. Not going to be great, but does give an opportunity to get some healing on the Altdorf Gryphites. Carl moving back. Getting ready to jump on in. See if he can snipe out the Feathered Prince. Yeah, the Seekers are eating up some Spearmen. Not really able to contribute to this fight, so Carl has an opportunity to do something. Ooh, Outriders getting very brave going after those Seekers, baiting them potentially into an engagement here, trying to, perhaps. But Altdorf Gryphites charging some Nurglings that overruns them into the Bloodletters a little bit. They're going to take some damage in the process. Carl also jumps down to interrupt the Seekers, seemingly. See the Gaze of Fate being used by the Altdorf Gryphites, rather, but the capitalization was not there. Seekers were not able to land in time, but they do land on the Empire Knights. Carl's nearby, pops Reichland Runefang to give him extra melee attack. Will it be enough to carry them through this engagement? Altdorf Gryphites fighting, but with the Bloodletter support, it's not an engagement they want to take. They're forced to back away, while Carl and the Empire Knights do indeed prevail over the Seekers. Wow, this is cinema right now, guys. This is quite the battle right here. Empire holding on for dear life, but they do manage to silence both the Seekers, which is absolutely massive. Means the Empire mobility can basically work with impunity more or less here. That's a bad sign for the demons, their chance of victory. But it's all gonna depend on if they can keep that healing, keep that cycle charging up. It is conquest as well. Black held the objective for some time. But yeah, now Bird Getting ready to move back to it to try and set up his final defense, but in the process, he's going to be taking some damage. Ooh, nice charge into the bloodletters. Don't have great defensive stats, so a good open field charge like that will do quite a bit of damage. They're able to pull away before the bloodletters are able to do too much in response. Carl gets a few cheeky hammer swings in on the Feathered Prince. In the meantime, the Outriders also getting some nice damage in there. But Demon's deciding to just keep the pressure up at this point. Best defense is good offense, I suppose, but Feather Prince is in a little bit of trouble. Going to take another volley there from the Outriders. Nice maneuvering by Black to get him in range to be able to fire there. And Carl's also in range to be doing some attack animations as he's chasing. Feather Prince going to hard land here into the Bloodletters just to get some kind of support against Carl. Not a bad play, honestly, but it does mean that Feather Prince will end up eating some actual attack animations on the ground. Not ideal by any means. And, I mean, Carl's not going to be crazy challenged by the Bloodletters, especially as the Outriders set up in the open field. A little bit more volleys. Feather Prince might be going down. Look at the balance of power swing all the way back to the Empire. The Altdorf Griffites receive some really nice healing here. The big Doom Blob of cavalry grouped up around the Jade Wizard still has magic to be able to keep them sustained, unlike Feather Prince, who has no more magic to sustain himself. Crumbles into ash and feathers. And will that be victory for the Empire? Balance power certainly swings quite far, but the conquest objective might come into play. We'll see. The Doom Blob of cavalry might be able to mow down what's left of its infantry here. Carl also quite healthy. Basically, demons have nothing left that can kill him, so it's just a matter of if they can hold out victory objective long enough. Let's fast forward through that. Yeah, looks like the Bloodletter's just getting mown down, and Steel Faith Powder. Black's able to carry the game. I am absolutely Empire biased. Keep that in mind. So anytime the Empire's winning, yeah, Black's also a great guy. I hang out with with him a number of times. So nice to see him prevail on the series. An excellent series. Very well played to Bird as well. And yeah, the Emperor, 2,000 damage value on him, 10,000 damage dealt. Definitely got some really nice work done. Altdorf Griffites and the regular Demigryph Knights ultimately ended up, yeah, in fact, they lasted until the late game, don't get me wrong. I mean, they definitely received a lot of healing. I guess they were more tank role this game. They didn't end up doing a ton of raw damage, but the damage they did do was against, it was against nice high-value targets, mainly these Seekers, who, a couple of them, some nice value there. Empire Knights, relatively respectable. Wow, Outriders, though. Basically 2x on that one, which is fantastic. The other one also pays for itself. Yeah, I mean, a lot of demonic instability damage, so the values are somewhat suppressed here. Regular spearmen with almost 500 damage value. That's excellent. Fun stuff for sure, though. Fun stuff. Carl the Giga Chad, indeed. Bird here. He playing his namesake. Did do some pretty good work with the Bird. I mean, Nurglings here, they're just more of a soak-up unit. They're the one thing. I mean, it's nice to have some extra numbers in something like this, but I almost wonder, just fold that value into something. Maybe it's better, hard to say, like 2 more Bloodletters, honestly. But yeah, the Seeker's play was really, really good up until the point where they died, which is unfortunately a downside of Seekers, but he was able to force really nice engagements there, isolate some Empire pockets of Empire troops and just wipe them out with the Seekers. So very well done there by Bird. And Black's able to... felt like watching a Warhammer 2 build. Oh, no, definitely. Yeah, this is like a full Warhammer 2 build, pretty much. Yeah. Black's able to win the series, so excellently done there. Let me pop back over to the Discord. Yes. Okay. Check this out real quick. Load this up for the series. Second. Also, Mors, if you could send me the challenge link for each group, so we can look through like who the top few from each group were. Give me just 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay. All right, we're loading up with the mod now. Let's try this out. Maybe it'll give some more insight into the cast. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it was a really nice series, Bird, honestly. It was really, really nice. Definitely a good one for sure. So, yeah, GG's. Yeah, let's jump back in, and the next series we're going to take a look at Orison Blood Penguin 2. Five. The replay for that one. Second, guys. Okay. We'll go to real quick while I see what's going on with that one. So, right. Series. See what's going on. We've got Raced with the Ogre Kingdom's Ash. The Beastmen. Yes. Definitely an interesting matchup. Very savage and brutal. See some corn gores already right off the bat. Lots of anti-large. Lots of spears. A couple of anti-large cows. So, oh wow, this is interesting. I don't know. It's a lot. Okay, so we have gold value. Let's see. Dead entities. Yeah. There's a lot there, but maybe arguably too much. But at least we can see the Winds of Magic Reserve. That's really the biggest thing. Anyway, taking a look at the builds here as we get ready with the Vanguard. We've got some Greasus Goldtooth and some Man-Eaters. High-tier Man-Eaters. We've got some Flingers here as well. Pigback Riders, Ogre Bulls. Yeah, looks like a Fire Belly getting ready to spin up some magic there. We take a look at his spell loadout. Oh, wow. Yeah. I don't know if I like a lot of this. This might be a little bit too much for me. I might go disable it after the fact. If I had one that just showed me Winds of Magic, like, you know, a lot of this other stuff is honestly kind of incredibly useful information from my cast, but that's okay. Yeah, it does show the amount of base damage versus armor piercing, which is interesting, but it's just a little bit busy for my taste. But anyway, yeah, he's rocking Burning Head, Cascading Fire Cloak. As for the Beastmen, those Ungor spears already getting charged up front. We've got Corn Gores, as we saw in the opening. Minotaurs, great weapons. Looks like Doom Bull with some Butchers of Kalkengard here. Bray Shaman, Lore of Wild. Yeah, more Corn Gores. Spearman Herd, Throwing Axes, and so forth. But yeah, one Ungor Spearman already just disappears. The Man-Eaters. Just immediately move up and try and seize that conquest objective. But, see, little Burning Head right down the front line. Oh yeah, some beautiful cinematics. I love it when two rush builds just honorably run towards each other and fight. It's honestly some of the most cinematic content in this game. But nice cash cascade. We're going to see a response of Traderkin here. Yeah, really nicely done. Going to hit a bunch of high value, low model targets, rather. That being said, Doombol's kind of getting beat up here a little bit, as that Rhesus himself, I think, is what's doing the damage. Yeah, got massive armor piercing, a little bit anti-large. Which the Kalkengard standing and fighting their best against the Man-Eaters, but I guess they do have Korngor support. It's definitely a bloody battle. Casualties on both sides, but as soon as the Pigback Riders disappear, I think the Beastman will maybe start to pull ahead, although Doombol definitely needs to get the heck out of there before he gets killed too hard. But yeah, just the quality of these elite Man-Eaters here. They're able to win out on this other flank, though. It looks like Minotaur's doing a really nice job cleaving through Ogre Bulls, cutting them right into chunks, along with the Korngors. Yeah, nice victory by the Beastmen in that pocket here. Also on this flank, Beastmen winning pretty effectively. So in the center, the Ogres have managed to prevail where, you know, makes sense. That's where a lot of their value is. 3 of these elite Man-Eaters, plus Greasus himself. Bray Shaman of Wild does have more Traderkins, no doubt. If he can stay alive, he could get a ridiculous amount of value just blowing up this entire build right here. Oh, there it comes. Fortunately, a lot of the units moved out. Well, I say a lot. It really just doesn't hit one Man-Eater in the fire belly. Basically, everything else that needs to get hit by it does, and as a result, it's going to be some really nice damage value accruing. It was not overcast by any means, but yeah, damage dealt almost 7,000. Well, a little over 6,500, almost 1,000 gold value. Let's see if Beastman can hold. Greasus is going to move over to this far engagement, as do the Man-Eaters. Ooh, we're going to see a big old Enrage. Yes, everyone has their price. Leadership, melee attack, and Rampage. Nice engagement for Greasus. Nice to see Greasus actually come in and just beat face. Actually contribute pretty meaningfully to a battle. More cash cascade here. Going to juice up his units, but it doesn't look like it's going particularly well. The anti-large of those Minotaurs is just unparalleled, and the elite Man-Eaters, of course, are anti-infantry, so they're going to be doing nicely to a degree against all this anti-large infantry, but Korngors are also no pushovers. Korngors plus Minotaurs plus just hundreds of these little spear guys, little Ungors. Secretly, Ungors are some of my favorite low-tier troops in the game, honestly. Just, they do a lot, honestly, for how kind of terrible they are. But nonetheless, Man-Eater's leadership does allow them to hold. They get a nice little rear charge from some Pigbacks, some more Noblars, some Bulls moving in. Suddenly turn the tables on the Beastmen. The Korngors' leadership gives out. Minotaurs hold. But, yeah, the rallying Ogres to Greasus' banner are able to win out. But the rest of the battlefield, though, Butchers of Kalkengard, these other anti-large Minotaurs, able to clean up the rest of the Man-Eaters, and it's not looking great for Greasus' band. Well, that charge initially was quite impressive. Beastmen, of course, in their spread, are incredibly dangerous. Often the Beastmen get much more dangerous after the initial engagement. The battle kind of gets spread out. You know, you have units getting isolated, getting opportunities to use their mobility and so forth. It's really where the Beastmen shine. And Race is able to not take the win. Instead, Ash prevails there with the, yeah, Beastmen. Very nicely done by the Bray Shaman of Wild. Yeah, you've got pretty good value spread around the Minotaurs as well. Oh, I see. Like, if I click on them, I can kind of cycle through. See, like, kills versus total damage dealt. Yeah. I mean, it's all information already accessible anyway. But overall, yeah, nice job by the Minotaurs to be able to win out those engagements despite facing some tough battles. The throwing axe Centaurs also saw there in a few close-up shots, just getting some really nice value on like Rhesus and so forth. Korngors, really nice to support in this engagement. Just a really well-constructed build from Ash, and relatively well executed as well. Race was able to break that center engagement pretty decisively, but then the Man-Eaters as they went over to fight the actual anti-large Minotaurs, obviously struggled a lot more and just were not able to clean up that engagement for a victory. Was I blocked that whole time? I was blocked that whole time, wasn't I? Oh, it's okay. It's all good. You can imagine what it was. It was like a radio play, you know? Yeah. Yeah, it happens. Screen blocker, blocker. Yes, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Somebody even messaged me on Steam. I appreciate it. But anyway. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and switch this mod off real quick just because it does have some useful information, but it's kind of just a bit too much for me, and I'm sure I could probably customize it to maybe have less information on screen, but I don't want to do that right now, so I appreciate the tip, but I think I'll stick with the vanilla UI and just continue pestering. Whoop, nope, I think I did the wrong thing. Yeah, just continue pestering Creative Assembly to actually add that in the regular UI for spectators and casters. Okay. Yes, it wouldn't be a replay without doing that. First time streaming, guys. Never done this before. Commercial free. Sponsored by JPEG. Best greaseless micro of all time. Yes. Yes. Didn't he need an ad blocker to watch? Okay, here we go. Next replay series. Race versus Ash again, and let's see what the builds are. Ooh, Tomb King's Mirror. We've got an Arken versus Cetra. Oh boy, so loreful, actually. Legitimately very, very loreful. Yeah. Wait, how is my PC? It's doing good. Doing good. I got a new graphics card a while back, and it's singing, by the way. I don't know if you guys can notice on the stream. If I think it's only, am I streaming in 1080 only? I don't know. It could probably do 1440. I don't think I could do full 4K streaming of this game, even with the new graphics card, just because it's so demanding, but I don't know. Hopefully it looks good for you guys. Let me know also if the audio levels are good. Everything looks and sounds excellent, other than the, you know, ad blocker being undefeated, but anyway. The screen blocker, rather. Yeah, Cetra here, coming in hot for the Tomb Kings. We've got Ushabti as a back line, front line of skeletons, of course. And then Necropolis Knights. Yeah, a couple of Necropolis Knights, and that's it for Cetra. The opposite build will be pretty similar, honestly. Arken the Black leading his Necropolis Knights around the flank. We've got Ushabti. Once again, this time a Kepler Guard. Nice pick in the Tomb King's Mirror. And some more Necropolis Knights. So both these players understanding the mission and the build. Not too surprised to see very similar builds here, although I would have thought maybe Sphinx of Uzek, potentially, just for that big anti-large AP punch, and the fact that it has flaming magic damage as well makes it pretty good against Tomb King's characters, but then we just get a very honorable Ushabti battle. Yes, it's getting close. Watch these statues smack each other for our entertainment. Oh, we're getting some summons. Arken's pulling up some skeleton warriors, trying to muck up the enemy Necropolis Knights. While his Necropolis Knights get a big engagement. Oh yeah, this is what we also want to see. Snake Knights smashing against each other. Something's going off here. Big incantation of desiccation. Liber Mortis as well. Yes. Both players dumping whatever they can into this engagement. Full Staff and Nagash trying to recharge those powers. Cetra comes over. So, I mean, there is technically an engagement happening. It's just honorable Ushabti and skeletons murdering each other. But we'll keep it here in this big high-value cavalry engagement. A little bit hard to tell what's going on, to be honest, but we'll just appreciate the cinematics. Lots of Necropolis Knights. A big pile that you're contributing. Which Lore of Magic would you rather have here? Personally, I think I'd rather have Cetra and the Lore of Nehekara. Unfortunately, he did not bring... I mean, Incantation of Desiccation is fantastic in this kind of situation. He did not bring Incantation of Cursed Blades, which would have also been really nice here to add some extra anti-large. But yeah, you can see the difference that like Cetra and the Incantation of Desiccation makes as his force is able to pretty decisively win this big pitch snake engagement. A little bit of Spirit Leech on the one target there from Arcan, but Arcan's going to have to flee the scene. And meanwhile, the rest of it, yeah, like I said, basically two very similar armies, if not exactly the same, slugging it out. We did get one Necropolis Knight not in that engagement, or Arcan's forces, who went around and is beating up on these Ushabti a little bit here, helping to win out that engagement. But, yeah, the decisive defeat there of Arcan's forces could prove decisive. Of course, Arcan himself is a wily one. He can contribute in other ways as well. Continue Spirit Leeching. He can summon some more skeletons. And between those two things, he can try and draw out this battle to get some of these down. Maybe using his magic, but just don't think with the one unit of Necropolis Knights and Arcan himself only, they're going to struggle to take down Cetra. And especially because the Necropolis Knights will now move in and help Cetra's Ushabti win. Yeah, Desiccation. Desiccation is a really nice one. Honestly, like buffs and debuffs, spells tend not to be great in multiplayer. The exception is if you're expecting a lot of monstrous combat, you don't have access to the big, like, direct damage spells that are good against monstrous units, whether that be like, you know, monstrous infantry, single entity monsters, whatever. Right, you need access to something like Final Transmutation or Traitor Kid to really have a good damage option against those things. That's when the big buffs and debuffs can come in to pretty good use, especially the big, you know, long duration, like heavy hitting debuffs and buffs, like Incantation of Desiccation definitely is up there. So, really nice use case for it, and was able to win that engagement pretty decisively. I don't think Arcan can do it. In fact, Cetra very much says personally that he cannot. He runs in for an engagement. Arcan is very trouble here. Very much in trouble. I don't know. Cetra might just push him around and walk alongside him, and they can have a nice chat. Necropolis Knights here, just disengaging, looking for a nice opportunity to move in. Keperguard and the Summoned Skeleton Warriors getting mauled by Ushabti. This Necropolis Knight's going to detach here. Maybe, nope, they're going to try and continue winning this engagement, which they definitely will win this engagement over time, but it's taking them such a long time, and they're honestly taking a lot of damage in the process. It's not efficient at all. I like Cetra more. Yeah, in the Tomb King's Mirror, Arcan I don't think is the play here. I definitely would have gone Cetra as well. He has better Lore of Magic, and I think him being a big beast in combat is really good to have in that situation. Libra Mortis being used once more. Another Incantation of Desiccation, I think. Yep. So, stats are in the toilet, but they have some physical resistance, which I guess helps. But it doesn't help Arcan as he gets smashed up by Cetra. And Cetra's Necropolis Knights winning the day. Very, you know, Emperor of Mankind coded here with his elite cavalry. Yes, finish him. Finish him. There it is. Maybe. Spirit Leech. Takes some time, but surely with Arcan's demise, yep. Fighting under the Liberas banner, very interesting. Yeah, Race is able to prevail there. And get back against Ash 1-1 on the series. Ultimately, just the Necropolis Knights there with the buffs of Cetra. Cetra himself, 2,000 damage value. Cat is just so good against mid-tier cav. It really is. It really is. It's just great. I mean, the Cat is really one of the best, like, Swiss Army knife monsters in the game. It's got great mobility, good armor. It's good against most things. Like... There's not a lot of unit types that it directly struggles against, except maybe like super elite anti-large cavalry or something, you know, like Grail Knights. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, it's probably one of the best monsters in the game. I would probably put it in the top 5 monsters in the game, honestly, just for how versatile it is and how excellent it is in so many situations, especially as a mount for Cetra. I mean, granted, it's very expensive when Cetra's atop it, but still, even taking a regular one, quite worth it in a lot of circumstances. And here in the Tomb King Mirror, it proved effective, so we will be going to a Game 3 on the series. Let's go ahead and download that replay. And let's see if Race can finish things off, or if Ash will rubber match and come back and win the series. Got more Undead Vampire Coast versus Khorne. Oh yeah, one of the most interesting and cursed matchups in many ways. Interesting one from Ash, though. I like the Mass Forsaken. I mean, you can definitely tell what he's going for, just trying to run things down here. Meanwhile, Race has a very traditional, very honorable, you know, very socially acceptable, let's say, gunline build here. It's, you know, very much playing into the faction identity. Got a bunch of deckhands, a few halberds in the back, some mass with some rotting Prometheans, including the Elite Crabalry, the Lamprey's Revenge, single Carronade to keep things honest, and a bunch of gun and pistol mobs. And Silostro, who is quite risky, definitely, mainly because I think all Khorne Lords have magic and fire damage. Fire damage is not applicable here, but the magic damage certainly is. So she's going to have to be careful not to get seal clubbed by Skull Taker here. We've got Hellforge Host, a bunch of Forsaken, the Blood Wake Berserkers, some cultists as well. One cultist at least for the summon. Get some extra Bloodletter bodies on the field. But the advance being broken up by the summoned crabs from Silostra, who herself then immediately runs back into her own lines, as she's going to have to flee Skull Taker basically this entire battle. But Forsaken moving in. Forsaken having a little bit less health is bad. They also don't have great melee defense. Only 15 melee defense, which means deckhands actually can get some hits against them at 17 melee attack. But yeah, the one Forsaken in the center just gets absolutely blasted. Oh man, Skull Taker. Skull Taker's hungry. He wants that ghost booty. Yes. Yes, that's right. Just one melee attack did a quarter of her HP in damage, so got to be careful of that. But Khorne units do have a tendency to run out of steam very quickly in a situation like this. You can see the Furies did come in and murderize the Carronades, so that is done. They're also now going to move over and start to take out each unit of gunners individually. So yeah, Khorne, despite getting absolutely bullet-filled on the approach here, they actually do manage to get in and get some damage done, and it looks like they're tying down basically all the ranged units as they need to. Then you've got some Khorne Gores moving in with some anti-large, ready to combat the crabs. Although, oh no, what's this? Skull Taker here taking a bunch of damage. He just gets surrounded by Prometheans and like shot point blank by their shotguns or something. I'm not really sure, but Skull Taker taking a bunch of damage is really not great. If he goes down, the Khorne leadership will definitely suffer. But Bloodwake Berserker stacked with the Hellforge Host, scariest melee infantry in the game, literally, right on top of each other. That's a tough out for these crabs. You also see the summoned Bloodletters in the back line there from the cultist. Gonna get on these pole arms. Forsaken also moving through, getting onto what targets they need to, trying to ignore, for now, the crabs. But the crabs will not be ignored for much longer. Despite fighting the most elite of Khorne infantry, they are actually kind of doing fine. And a lot of that comes down to the shooting in melee. Creative Assembly recently released a really nice stream regarding Total War of Warhammer 40,000, where they talked about some of the new shooting tech in that game. They talked about how units can now shoot in melee. I thought to myself, well, in Total War Warhammer, a lot of units can shoot in melee already. Especially something like this, where the dudes on top are really not doing attack animations. They're just, like, able to shoot their shotguns, basically, for the most part. But, yeah, Skull Taker eventually does prevail there. Bloodwake Berserkers are able to break those units eventually. And the Crab's defense doesn't last forever, but they're able to do a surprising amount of damage in the meantime. Especially, you look at their melee stats, like, okay, 59 melee defense is pretty nice for their ROR, but other than that, they don't really have very good melee stats. A lot of the damage comes from those point-blank shotgun shells. would love to see her on Leviathan in this matchup. Yeah, it would have been potentially nice, but also potentially a little bit risky as well. Let's see. Can the Bloodwakes defeat Crabs? Many factions have found themselves in this situation in the late game where they are, you know, just trying to grind through the Lamprey's Revenge in particular, but just generally the Gunnery Mob Prometheans. Question is, can Khorne do it? I don't think I've ever seen a Khorne build forced into this particular endgame scenario. Crabs don't have skulls, OP, right? Although, if you, like, let's say you got this entire piece right here, right? Like, you cut the legs off, you, like, bisect this entire head section. If you hollow out the exoskeleton, would that count as a skull? You said, like, here, Khorne, here's a giant crab exoskeleton head without any meat in it. Would that count? Would he accept that? Lore Beards could never. Couldn't even fathom such questions. That's why you guys come to my channel, right? The Bloodwakes are legitimately, though, putting up the performance of a lifetime here. Just absolutely smashing whatever gets close with their little hand flails. Forsaken come back. They're going to get a little rear charge, force the polearm zombies into crumbling. Lamprey's Revenge have some polearm zombies to fight on top of, and Silostra also stays alive. Wow, what a battle to start things out here. This is, like I said, one of those matchups where it's just wild, man. It's just wild, some of the stuff that happens. Two completely opposed factions, almost. Like, very much in terms of play style and philosophy and lore and theming. You got these fiery, bloody Chaos Worshippers versus a bunch of soggy, nasty, decrepit corpses, basically, that have been in the ocean for too long. Very much a fire and water kind of matchup, right? Makes this very steamy, I guess. Oh, the late game! Wow, the damn Knights Errant. I haven't even remembered that they were an option. They've literally been in reserve this entire time, absolutely crushing late game summon of the damned Knights Errant. 100% AP damage. Even with their relatively low charge bonus, the exhausted Bloodwake Berserkers are going to get charged here, and will they take a bunch of damage? They do have magic damage themselves, so they actually can fight back very effectively against the damned Knights Errant, but they immediately get terror routed and Skulltaker crumbles. Wow. The ghostly steel chair. Absolutely. Just curtains. Wow. Held on to that for so long. Yeah, he really did. He really, really did. Well played to Race. What a patient play. Let's say it's patient. It's possible he just forgot to use it until the very end. But it ends up winning in that late game engagement. Definitely sealing things. No question. So, yeah, I mean, the Crabs were able to hold ultimately. Like I said, very traditional, very orthodox Vampire Coast build here. And it ends up winning out. I mean, very, very well done. Ash here puts up a great fight. His Khorne Rush does manage to penetrate and just about has enough to get the job done. The Bloodwake Berserkers there, I mean, they might have been able to finish things along with Skulltaker. But very, very fun game. Very fun series. Just a big wow from me. So, let's go on to the next one. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, next up we're gonna load up. Ooh, XMT Civil War. Codex versus Phoenix. Yes, please. Hop on over to Group 4. Group 4, Round 5. Got Phoenix King versus Codex. All right. Yes. Yes. Dark Elves versus Kislev for this XMT Civil War. Very interesting builds. I spot 4 Cold One Spear Riders along with 2 Scourge Runners. We've also got a Medusa, absolutely wild pick. Morathi up in the sky. A single Executioner, really nice, just in case of some armored infantry. Yeah, excellent build overall, I would say, from Phoenix King. Morathi rocking the Melkos Mystifying Miasma and Soul Stealer. As for the rest, Kislev, that is. Front line of Kislev Warriors. We've got a couple Streltsy mixed in with some Kossars. Lots of Kossars. Ice Guard Glaives out on the flanks. Very interesting. Only 2 Winged Lancers and a relatively cheap Ice Witch. It's a big distributed value build, and immediately Morathi's feeling the pain as she gets a volley from the Streltsy, and, you know, all the Kossars hanging around nearby as well. The Scourge Runners will be an interesting pick here. They don't have good targets to shoot at. But they do have targets to shoot at. Bloodrack Medusa also can make this a little bit of a painful standoff engagement for Kislev. You can see the gaze attack firing in there. Already pops by our blood on one Kislev warrior right in the center. So interesting so far. Let's see. A lot of it is going to come down to how Codex focus fires on various high-value targets. Right now, it looks like he's basically just shooting the shielded swords, which is the worst possible thing he could shoot, but really needs to focus like with the Medusa, or yeah, even like Cold One Knights are going to be an excellent target for focus fire here. Yeah, you can see the Frostbite hitting them, significantly slowing them. One unit does manage to get through and get onto those Kossars, but the Streltsy gun line holding. Kislev Warriors taking a beating, but immediately moving in to attack their Dark Elven counterparts. Out on the flank here, Morathi receiving some arrows, a little bit of Ice Guard Glaives. Yeah, not sure what these Winged Lancers are doing, but they're over here as well. Trying to get away from Cold One Knights, it looks like. Take a nice wide kind of sweep of the battle here. Looks like the Scourge Chariots decide to move into melee to interrupt as many of these archers as possible. Snow Leopard summon, going after the Bloodrack Medusa, applying some nice pressure there. A little bit of Melkos Mystifying Miasma. No, that's not the spell that she has. It's Death Frost. Morathi does have some spell resistance, 25%, so not as efficient as it would otherwise be against other characters. She's going to heal herself back with that Soul Stealer right on the Ice Witch. Again, not the most efficient damage-wise, but nice to get some healing back. Keep Morathi alive. Snow Leopard plus some key Kossars is able to dispatch the Medusa. That's a pretty big loss for the Dark Elves. Likewise, the steam is definitely being taken out of the Bleak Swords. They just slug it out with Kislev infantry. And, ooh, the summon crumbles just in time for the Bloodrack to rout. Unfortunately, he's not going to be getting any chasing of the routing unit there. But maybe the Bloodrack can come back. Yes, indeed, it does recover its leadership just right there as the Ice Witch is fleeing from the Hag Queen. Hag Queen beats Ice Witch, apparently, which is definitely very true. And the Archers and Streltsy now getting engaged. Ooh, Hargoneth's looking to butter that Streltsy bread. Not a great situation. What do we? Another Death Frost on Morathi. By Our Blood is popped on the Ice Witch, taking lots and lots of damage. Bloodrack Medusa coming back. That gaze attack just absolutely wrecking those blocky formation Kossars. Penetration on those shots is absolutely insane. Kislev Warriors holding, though. We've got Ice Guards over here, also engaged by Bleak Swords. Not efficient at all for the Ice Guards. So Dark Elves, despite being behind on the balance of power pretty significantly, feel like are kind of resurgent right now and looking to try and clean up this engagement. I guess there are still some very healthy Ice Guard Glaives, basically untouched over on this far side here. But the Kislev Ice Witch goes down. Got the Chariots also continuing to drive through. Kossar is actually shattering at this point. See if other Kislev units rout with the loss of leadership there. It is going to cause a big leadership drop, rather, across the field. Ice Guards here in a nice blocky formation once again. They've been completely healthy up to this point, but yep, looks like Kislev actually going to throw in the towel there. Understandable. I think just a couple of volleys from the Bloodrack Medusa and that balanced power flips all the way back, and Codex yeah, loses the battle. So Phoenix King, very well done, very nicely executed on that rush. Able to just move into melee, and despite taking some losses on the approach, he was able to also get some value back. Bloodrack cutting up some of those Kislev Warriors in the front line was nice. Just the trades also, like Bleak Swords trading into Kislev Warriors is pretty efficient. You have the Hargoneth Executioners to really make sure you could win that infantry fight. You know, just efficient trading with the Cold One Knights versus basically everything here except the Kislev Warriors, right? So it was a tough one for sure, but Codex was able to get some pretty respectable value back. Just ultimately losing out his Lord, I think, was the biggest issue for him. But I actually like the pick of the Ice Guard Glaives out on the flanks. I think that's a nice tech here, definitely. So let's see if he can get Phoenix King back and win the next battle to even up the series, or if Phoenix King can perhaps close out the first 2-0 we've seen today. This time it's Phoenix King taking Kislev and Codex taking Skaven, who we haven't seen a ton of in this tournament yet. At least the battles that I've seen. No Patriarch, interesting, yeah. Yes. Here we go, Phoenix King this time piloting Kislev. He's got a bunch of horse archers in the vanguard ready to get the party started. Got some dervishes over here, winged lancers. Just Kossars makes sense. I know a lot of people who don't take melee infantry into Skaven, really, because there's no point. But more dervishes, some Griffin Legion here. The Incarnate Elemental of Beasts is a super interesting choice. I like it a lot. You need some kind of terror against the Skaven. This thing's got some physical resistance, too. It's pretty fast. It's unbreakable, essentially, right? It's an elemental. And, you know, it also has this permanent AoE damaging effect, which is quite nice. And just overall, -8 leadership, Howl of the Great Beast as well, potentially can help get that big terror route going, so really like that pick. Ice Witch also, of course, causes terror up on her Ice Worm. And then for the Skaven, Racier of Ruin, we've got some Triads, we've got some artillery here. Plague Claw Catapults looking to get at that Kislev infantry, Poison Wind Globes, Clan Rats, yeah. Anti-Bubo Sharpshooters, we've got Dwarf Thing Menace Doomflayers, and just a single unit of Rat Ogres with another unit of Flayers. So there's some mass here. Definitely going to be relying on those Flayers. Kossar is already feeling the pain of the Plague Claw Catapults, but that's exactly why you don't bring melee infantry in. Must be overvaluing the Patriarch. That's 2 builds without. Yeah, I think the fact that the Patriarch really, his combat prowess is pretty poor outside of his support buffs. I just don't think the support buffs always net you the value that you need for him to pay for himself. Maybe if you just have him on foot, he's not like on the bear or anything. But even then, I don't know, it's kind of a lot to pay for what you're getting from him. But wow, look at this Incarnate Elemental of Beast just trucking straight through this build. The Rat Ogre's going to respond. Triads also getting some anti-large. He's receiving some globes to his behind. So definitely some damage on the Incarnate, but he did manage to mess up that front line pretty badly. And then here come the Dervishes. Dervishes are such a nightmare for any ranged faction because they're basically unbreakable light cavalry for the time that matters, right? They can get in, they can kill your entire artillery crew, even if you respond well, just because they'll become unbreakable from By Our Blood for a certain amount of time, which is generally the amount of time that they need to kill an artillery crew. So, definitely pain. Oh man, the Griffin Legion. Oh, it's so satisfying to just watch them delete a unit of Skaven slaves. Overrun immediately into the Natty Bubo Sharpshooters. Yeah, Skaven did not have enough to stop this heavy cavalry from just running rampant. See, the entire center of this build is just gone, as even the horse archers are running in to get involved in the fun. Nice Dreaded 13th spell is going to detonate a good amount of the cavalry here, but doesn't actually get a lot of the super high value stuff. You can see the Griffin Legion just pulling through with impunity. Same with the Winged Lancers over here. Crossfire Dervishes taking some damage, but they're also tying down the Eshin Triads, which opens them up to magical blasts from the Ice Switch. Yeah, the Incarnate Elemental Beast actually hasn't done a crazy amount of damage so far, but it's just been such a big distraction piece that the Skaven have been forced to deal with in the center of their formation. Yes. Yes, the Bell finds himself suddenly alone in the center, as the Kislev unit's just kind of ignoring him for now. But Skaven not going completely quietly into that good night. They've been able to deal with a lot of the dervishes. Unfortunately, just not shatter them. Means the dervishes can now chase some routing units. But the summoned storm vermin also trying to get in the way. The Kislev mobility, of course, can just bypass them completely. But Bell getting involved a little bit in this frontline combat here, trying to stabilize things somewhat against the Kossars. Well, Scorch action. Scorch kind of underrated as a spell, honestly. It's relatively cheap for how much damage it can do if you get the targeting of it right. I just think Skaven are a little bit underutilized right now. Incarnate Elemental Beast just slowly chasing the Bell down through the open field. I will say the Flayers being completely healthy is potentially something that is weighing very heavily on the balance of power. The fact that the Flayers are so healthy, I'm curious to see them get into an engagement. Ooh, Winged Lancers get caught in the open field by the Triads who get that Unholy Clamor proc right at the right time. Extra leadership, nice vigor, refresh. They are going to, yeah, probably win out against those Winged Lancers. Skaven are not going quietly whatsoever. Yeah, Griffin Legion also got caught up by the Triads, so Codex with a really nice pick with these Triads, maybe getting back in this game. But the Ice Witch is lurking. Anti-large, armor piercing, frostbite, which means the Grey Seer is now locked into this fight. Players are going to come try and support. Ooh, maybe if the Flayers can actually like rock the Ice Witch in and screen her out, but she is doing attack animations against Grey Seer this entire time, and it looks like Horse Archers also get a nice firing solution, able to pour in some arrows. Eshin Triads trying to move up to support, but the Incarnate Elemental Beast is also nearby, technically doing a little bit of passive damage as the Grey Seer runs by. A little bit of Breath of Winter there. Not the name of the spell, it's Ice Maiden's Kiss, but it might as well be Breath of Winter. But yeah, the Horse Archer arrows are starting to make the Grey Seer question, and he actually routes there. Wow! Huge loss for the Skaven. Dwarf Thing Menace, fortunately getting outclassed by these single entities, and it's a victory for Kislev. Wow. Yeah. Phoenix King able to take the 2-0 series over Codex. And, you know, very well played to both players. Definitely nice to see these XMT lads doing well. Ultimately, Codex had the power to maybe force the game 3 here, but just ultimately what he needed to kill these single entities got killed a little bit too quickly. Maybe a little bit over-indexing on those Poison Wind Globes. Maybe expecting more infantry than was brought. But a veteran player like Phoenix King knows, really don't need infantry here. You just need cavalry, maybe some archer infantry, you know, ranged infantry. But generally, you just need mobility and some nice shock elements to break up the game formation, which he was able to do. Yeah, the Incarnate Elemental Beast ended up hanging around to the late game. Actually did get some really nice value. Likewise, Griffin Legion paid for themselves for their demise. Basically, the Winged Lancers did as well. Dervishes reasonably cost effective. Same for the Horse Archers. Just a nice combined win all across the board for Kislev, with everything contributing. For Codex here, yeah, ultimately, Triads were definitely a bright spot. They were able to cleave through quite a bit of the Kislev cavalry. I just think, had he, instead of the Poison Wind Globes, gone with something, what would I go with? Probably more Rat Ogres, honestly. Something to try and hold back the cavalry a little bit better and maybe win out against dervishes and stuff. I don't know. Maybe just more Clan Rat Spears, honestly. Like, trade all these regular Clan Rats for Clan Rat Spears. Hard to say, really. The Globes also can be good against cavalry if they're kind of held back a little bit, but I think they got a little bit too far forward there and ended up just getting charged down, so I'd like to mention Codex was sick during the series, unfortunately. Might have gone very differently if he wasn't. Yeah, it happens. It definitely happens. Plague of Nurgle, unfortunately, striking him down. Fun one for sure. Definitely a good time. So let's go ahead and look at, let's see if I can find the challenge page. Just give me 1 second real quick. Board. Uh, Maybe we'll grab that in just here today. I'm actually going to take a break and go grab a drink of water real quick. I will not forget the blocker this time, I swear. And yeah, I'll be right back. Right. Here at the standings, have them here. So first, we'll take a look at Group 1. Gone through the first 4 groups. I'll show rankings for them. The group stages are all finished, so I don't think they've announced necessarily who is through from each group to the next round, the next stage, but let's go. So Group 1, see quite a few familiar names up there at the top. Strat Game, undefeated throughout the series. We did have some people drop, so not everyone got a full 6 games, but yeah, got Black we just saw there, and Bird both performing quite well in their group. Gepadors, Gojira also, Butcher Bird. Yeah, quite a few familiar names moving on. Human Boy, yes, ends up 3-3, so I'm not sure 100% yet, but yeah, fun one for sure. And then if we go back here and check out the standings. Blood Penguin, Torreson, Anticity. Ooh, somebody got a series off Anticity. That's quite impressive. Blood Penguin himself. Yeah, Orion also doing quite well. Tsar. Other Turin here. Captain T-List, Rider Rohan, 2 friends of the channel. Ended up a little bit positive. Hopefully they move on. Go back now, take a look at Group 3. Yeah, TGO, Caradoc, Adler, Race, Lenorm, Tretch, Maydave. Nice. Nurgle's PA, Loopy. Quite a few familiar names there. Slate X and Akoi, unfortunately, both ended up a little bit less than 500, so I'm not sure if they'll move on. But stalwart memers. Nice to see Akoi actually participating, honestly. I had no idea who was joining. That's pretty cool, honestly. Then Group 4. Yeah, Phoenix King and Codex. Actually 1 and 2 on their group. Berserk's only loss was to Codex. We saw that series on the channel. Berserk's a really excellent player, so might have just had a bad day on that one. Or maybe Codex just had a really good day. But definitely not surprised at all to see them. Up top, Guac, former champion from Warhammer 2 times, also up there. Shidoku. Yeah, Tom Bombadil coming out pretty well as well. Pretty stacked group, honestly, I have to say. But nice to see so many participants, honestly. Nice to see so many people coming out to enjoy and test themselves in this tournament environment. So let's move back now. Regular Warhammer broadcast. And we'll move on to a few more series. Yes. To Rugash versus Solmir. Yeah. That. Pop over to this. 5. Rugash versus Solmir. Nice. That first battle in the folder. Let's take a look. More High Elves and more. Wow, absolutely mad build here from Drugash versus Solmir. Is more traditional, very traditional, I would say. Ogre's build, but yeah, is this Triple Phoenix? Are we about to see the absolutely forbidden Triple Phoenix? Yes. Stop glanced over me in Group 1. I saw you there, Sir Tarquin. Yes. Yes. Let's see, though. We got the Triple Phoenix coming in hot. Techless, Omen of Asurian, and Karedran all just very swiggity-spooty, want that booty. They're going to go straight in and try to attack these Lead Belchers. Meanwhile, he's just got some Fireborn and Chips Company hidden here in the woods. Yeah, they're gonna move in and act like they want to attack something, but honestly, they've got the Eshin Maneater plus Sky Striders nearby, plus the Butcher of Death is going to be tossing in some Spirit Leeches here, no doubt. I mean, of course, they do have regrowth from Techless, but I don't know. I don't know if I love the chances of them just in an all-out melee engagement by themselves here. Ooh, but there's the Soul Blight, going to lower the weapon damage. Upgraded Soul Blight, actually. Has some extra mastery on there. Must be from Techless. You don't see that super often, but a nice Cash Cascade. Responding. Eshin Maneater swinging his sword around, doing some fancy moves. Now he's going to choose to come over alongside the Paymaster. Get into this combat and try and make something happen here. Sky Striders did take a ton of damage in that engagement. But likewise, the Omen of Asurian and the other Phoenixes are getting pretty badly beat up. Yeah, sending all these guys in without any support, definitely a little bit questionable, but let's see. Maybe the Fireborn can make an attack run and get in to help here. A little Fiery Convocation going to be used, which will certainly do some damage to the Noblars, but isn't going to do a ton. These bigger units, just a lot of the Ogres, right? So yeah, Karedran actually gets fully destroyed here, pretty much. Could maybe see a regrowth from Techless on him, but the Omen of Saurian and Techless also are suffering pretty badly. Yeah, Fireborn are going to try and get in here to help, but ultimately Dragon Princes and Fireborn eating some charges. Not really doing a lot. The ship's company also moved up to take the objective and are also not doing a ton. But maybe it's all a big objective play, big brain. Isn't there a minimum amount of infantry required? I don't know, but it was at 450 was the minimum model count or 500. It's right on the line either way. But need at least 600 models. Okay, well, this is a straight up illegal build then. But I don't think it's going to work, so I think it's probably fine. Infantry helps to get that number. This isn't required. He just shattered. Yeah. Yeah. This is definitely something that can happen if you play in a certain style. But oh, it's 400 models, maybe? Doesn't have 600. Yeah, he definitely doesn't have 600. 400. Yeah, that's fine. 600 is tickets. Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, it didn't work. It's very interesting play, but absolutely just... I mean, Solmir played exactly as he should. Stood his ground, didn't get too crazy. Played off his power unit there, and won the game. So that's a battle that can happen sometimes during a tournament like this. I'll leave it at that. So let's go ahead and pop in the next replay in the series. Maybe Drugash will go with something a little bit more traditional this time. And indeed he does. The build is legal. Good? Definitely not, but legal. Yes. I actually think there's probably a way to make Triple Phoenix work, but that was not it. But let's see. He's got some Chaos Dwarfs this time, much more traditional build. Chaos Dwarf Warriors up front, blazing beards in the center. I say very traditional. Not a lot of people take actual just Chaos Dwarf Warriors, so we'll see how they do here. He's got double Castellan as well, and a Sorcerer Prophet of Death, some Fireglaves to back him up, Wolf Raiders with Spears, a single Elite Bull Centaur Great Weapon right in the center. Yeah, very traditional to a degree. I mean, it's like your regular army, at least. You've got some Chosen of the Gods of Shopti Great Bows here for the Tomb Kings, Eyes of the Desert, Sepulchral Stalkers, Skeleton Warriors, Skeleton Spears, Shopti as well. Yeah, triple Fireglaves. Very good against Tomb Kings, actually, I think. But we've also got the Necrotect here, Arc in the Black, leading the way. Shopti, regular Shopti. One thing about doing something very strange in the first game is that your opponent then really doesn't know what to expect necessarily. They might prepare for a bit of cheese strat, even though you might not be planning to execute it. Instead, you just go with something quite traditional like this. But the Castellans actually are an interesting pick here as well. They can kind of add a little bit of single entity missile damage. They don't do a ton, but especially against something like Chosen the Gods of Shopti, who are just letting them come in range right now. Their shots will add up over time. Yeah, I like the triple Fireglaive. Only one of those units that can get some really nice work done. Very cool with their gun axes. One eye slit. Imagine how bad their breath must smell in that mask, though. Anyway. It's not triple caster. They're Castellans. They're not casters. Yeah. Oh, is that new? How long have they had this Lifebane Blade? Is that new? Is that a new item for them? They actually have a regenerate health in melee item, which I did not realize. That must have been changed at some point, and I did not ever catch it. But interesting. Makes the Castellans a little bit better, because it means they can actually fight in melee a little bit longer. Their melee stats are not insane. They do have good armor piercing. They've got 15 bonus versus large, which is definitely not terrible by any means. But, get a little tired already. Yeah, shooty boys. I like it. I have a strange affinity for, like, rifle heroes in particular. Any gun heroes and lords especially, but, like, Gunnery White and this guy, for some reason I'm just big fans of. Yeah, you got the Empire Engineer as well, who has a... He's nice, but I don't know. It's just, he gives, like, very, like, Lee Ermey, you know, drill sergeant vibes. And I just love that. Yeah. So cool. It's an old item? Have they had it for a while? No way. I can't believe I missed that. That's actually a nice item for them. Yeah. Anyway. Shows you how much Chaos Dwarfs gameplay I'm doing these days. But Arcan is getting kind of picked away at here. He's right now just not really wanting to engage. So we'll fast forward a little bit as the Tomb Kings decide whether they want to play or not. I mean, they are playing, but just a little bit of a shootout at first. The Shabti, Chosen of the Gods, doing some long-range damage, while the Castellans also move up and poke whatever they can get in range that's high value, which, yeah, damage on Arcan is definitely painful. Arcan can be a wily one and tricky to actually get damage on, so the fact that he is eating some Spirit Leeches here, he's eating some Gunfire, really uncomfortable, and in the long run will cost the Tomb Kings, I think. But the Chosen of the Gods, Ushabti, get some damage in return on the Fire Glaives. They've hit the Blazing Beards for some damage as well, so we'll continue fast-forwarding through this shootout. We got a little bit of melee engagement underway as the Laborers fight Skeleton Spears. What? Yes. Yeah, Laborers, unfortunately, due to leadership, just lose to Skeleton Spears. And, I mean, granted, Necrotech is on a Chariot as well to add some anti-infantry damage. But, wow, he actually just took damage on the charge there from the Castellan as he is able to resist. They must have charge defense. Yeah, charge reflection. They do, in fact. Interesting. I've never seen charge reflection just work so cleanly like that. That was interesting. Has 15% fire weakness. Dawi Engineer has so much better utility in Smoke Bomb. Yeah, the Dawi Engineer is pretty goated, honestly, as far as gun characters go. He's also the first one to ever be in the game, because he came out with Warhammer 1 in 2016. So, yeah, he is the OG gun hero for sure. Definitely. Still a little bit sad they never gave him, like, gyrocopter mounts. But at least we have mods for that. Also nice that they finally implemented the Wolf Chariot mounts in campaign for greenskins. They've been available in multiplayer for a while, but for whatever reason were not available without mods in campaign, so that's nice they were added. Yeah, I mean, he's the true OG. I think Gunnery White is still my favorite just because he's a decrepit corpse. And he's the only hero-level zombie in the game, which is, I think, just so special. Because technically the White King is a skeleton, right? So, yeah, the Gunnery White being a zombie makes him kind of special and unique. Not the best, but certainly is one of them. I mean, he's got Scab Scrath. He's definitely not a pushover by any means. He's got Restock, you know, he's got the basics. But, yeah, the Dawi Engineer has had some really nice updates over time, and it's definitely a really good character to add in a lot of Dawi builds. Very nice in campaign as well. Actually just recently played through a Masters of Innovation. The, what's his name? Oh, why can't I remember? Malachi campaign recently, just to kind of reacquaint myself with the Dwarven campaign, and it was a good time for sure. The Dwarven campaign definitely feels like much more of a sprint than it should, but anyway, that's a completely different topic from what's going on here. The Shabti prevailing against the Bull Centaurs as, yeah, the Fire Glaives kind of just get run down a little bit here. The rush down from the Tomb Kings to Shabti and everything else, able to really get some nice work done. Anti-large of the Bull Centaurs can only do so much when faced with all of this. And the Chosen of the Gods also just sitting out in the distance, firing free, getting damage this entire time. I imagine their value is quite high. Yeah, almost 2,000 damage value. Used up all their ammunition. So ultimately, yeah, the skirmish phase, the Tomb Kings just decide, why even bother? I mean, we're skirmishing well, but let's get this melee engagement going anyway, because I think we can win. And they so far doing it. We'll see. Sorcerer Prophet might go down here. And Arcan has managed to keep himself alive despite the early poke. Like I said, he's a wily one. If you're really trying hard, it's not super hard to keep him alive against this type of faction. But he does need to stay far away from the combat as possible. Maybe chase these routing units a little bit here. Although if the Fire Glaives come back from route and just gun him down, that will be a big bad thing because they do fire damage. And he is weak to fire. So, yeah, this Fire Glaive just comes back from route now. They have only 17 unit models left, but They could maybe finish him off. Yeah. Gyro and bomb mounts for engineer. Kind of wish Ushabti had weapon variety. That would be nice, for sure. For sure. Ushabti great weapons. I mean, we already have Ushabti bows and Ushabti dual hand weapons. All we really need is Ushabti great weapons for anti-large. That would actually be a really nice unit for the Tomb Kings, like a mid-tier anti-large infantry. And make them like 1100, 1200, and that would be legitimately really nice for Tomb Kings. Let's see, Arcan's last stand here. Will the Blazing Beard's grenades finish him off? Nope, looks like they're not actually going to throw them. Instead, he does manage to make it 2 friendly units, which means it's going to be tough for Chaos Dwarfs to finish him. Right now, the Castellan's putting that healing item to pretty good use. The bombs eventually do throw in. And then the Blazing Beards actually rout, which is most unfortunate. But little Spirit Leech there on the Castellan from Arcan himself. Yeah, the Castellan's leadership starting to give out at this point. Yeah, whoa, victory? Wait, hang on. Is that a desync? There's no way. Hang on, there's no way. The Tomb Kings, I thought, were in a pretty commanding position right there. I'm so confused. Volmir actually hands in the towel there? There's something I missed? Interesting. I would have thought the Tomb Kings were about to take the win there, but anyway. Yeah, interesting. I'll have to investigate the next few replays and see. I mean, I guess that was a victory for Drugash. Maybe did he win on tickets? I wasn't even paying attention. He must have won on tickets there, because it definitely looked like the Tomb Kings were in a position to win. But I guess he just won on the victory objective. Interesting. Super interesting. I was not paying attention to that at all, and it seems Solmir was also not paying attention to that. Oh yeah, absolutely Empire, no question. I mean, granted, I think it's awesome Nagash is getting added. As an undead hater, I am very excited to kill him repeatedly in campaign. You know, all joking aside though, no, it should be fun. But yeah, definitely most excited for the Empire. As far as the pure roster additions go, it's hard to say. But, you know I'm an Empire fanboy, so, like, Knights of the White Wolf, plus, yeah, I mean, just, we'll see how everything else shakes out, but it definitely, whatever they can add for the Empire will make it better. I'm all for. You won on tickets. Yeah, there we go. That was crazy. I was so locked into the battle, I didn't even see. Interesting. Well, Drugash manages to even up the series there. Let's go to that fated Game 3. Yes, yes, Cathay. Seen a little bit of Cathay here. We do see a balloon. Yeah, junks have been a staple of the Cathay replays we've seen. Not that we've seen a ton, but the junk immediately opens fire on Slaanesh. We've got Yuan Bo leading the way. Nice defensive formation of peasant long spears, peasant archers. We've got a couple of shotguns. Jade War Drum, which is absolutely essential, just in general having a drum in this type of a box build. Empress Crowman and regular Crowman to help defend. And that's basically all there is. Very interesting choices for sure. You see he is moving up to try and take the objective there. Again, wanting to try and get the ticket victory if possible, just to make sure it gives himself the best chance to win. Then for the army, we've got a Sorcerer Lord of Slaanesh on horseback, an Exalted Hero on the Demonic Steed. That's very cool. We've got some Forsaken of Slaanesh. That looks like some Devotees. Wow. Fiends, some Champs, bunch of units, honestly. More Devotees and Fiends over here. Yeah, how about you guys, though, as we get the early phases of this battle? Which End Times factions, you know, what, depending, Yeah, like, based on what they've announced so far, which I think they've announced all the factions so far. I'd have to go back and look. Actually, I haven't been keeping up with the news a ton. But out of the factions that have been announced for the End Times DLC, which ones are you most excited for?
Enjoy the
Yes,
fruits
it
of
should be
your
quite
labor.
interesting. I'm excited, speculating Nagash will be able to confederate in Pokemon every undead race. If you defeat them, Nagash dominates the faction. Yeah, I'm curious to see how they implement that for sure. I'm also curious to see if they'll be available at all in multiplayer, because one of the reasons that demons and warriors of chaos work as factions is that they don't have access to each other, right? Like, you can do demons undivided because they don't have all the warriors, which means, you know, the faction has a very clear identity, low armor, all magic damage, you know, very kind of relatively expensive units. They're going to be relatively low model count, so a little bit of a brittle army, definitely fall apart quickly, whereas the warriors have access to a lot. But again, you don't have access to any demons. You have some heavy armor stuff, but not as good a mobility as, say, like Norse Goat or Beastmen. So, Skaven, yeah. Yeah, honestly, from a roster perspective, I think I'm most excited for the Skaven editions, honestly. They're the most unhinged by far, so... Yeah, Lord Nagash controls all undead. Tomb King's Coast could be controlled. Yeah, so as far as, like, how that gets implemented in multiplayer, because, in theory, you should just have access to everything, I don't know if that's going to be a faction that's even available in multiplayer, because then there's literally no reason to take Tomb King's Coast or Counts ever, basically. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how they're able to implement it, or if we're just going to have to end up not allowing Nagash in multiplayer, except for, like, special events and stuff, which would be... unfortunate. I don't know. Maybe the community will develop their own roster for Nagash to allow him to be able to play. But if he just straight up has access to everything, I don't think there's any way that makes it through the rules committees. Anyway, nice little friendly fire by the rockets there as the Crowmen fly directly through their line of fire. Nagash versus Vampire Counts. Units from other rosters in campaign. Oh, Nagash is Vampire Counts. Yeah, we'll see. Definitely see. Ooh, a little slicing shard's gonna come in here. Potential for some box breaking. Quite a long spin-up time, but does a massive amount of damage. Even hits the balloon for a little chunk there. But yeah, look at the champions just straight up rolling in and then punching through. Devotees took quite a bit of arrows on the approach. But once they're actually in combat against these Cathayan infantry, they will absolutely shred. So Yuanbo right now not really contributing any damage. Really needs to get into combat here. Got the Rock of Inevitability, though, from the Exalted Hero. Using that debuff item to really nice effect. Yeah, melee defense debuff in particular is quite nice for a rush faction like Skaven. Peasant Horseman, Peasant Long Spears holding this back line, though, for the time being. And the Chaos Sorcerer Lord is taking quite a bit of damage from the Crowmen, from the shotguns, and the War Drum just absolutely racking up support value right now. You know, unfortunately, we don't see that support value directly, but I have no clue how Nagash will be. Multiplayer, 4,000 cost, maybe? Yeah, I would imagine he's north of Be'lakor pricing, if anything. Yeah, I'm not so worried about Nagash himself. I think they'll be able to balance him just through sheer massive cost. It's more so his faction just having access to everything kind of invalidates the other undead factions. So it would be curious to see how it plays out. Yeah, definitely. More expensive for sure. Most expensive, yes. Definitely. But it looks like the Cathayans are able to hold Drum basically undefeated here. Slaanesh just doesn't have enough stats to get through the box, and with the rockets raining, the red glare the entire time all over their heads, not look like Slaanesh will have what it takes to prevail, so... Yeah, really just suffering under the weight of the drum. which it's currently in its weapon damage with magic state, Fury of the Falling Blade. Yeah, the magic damage in particular is nice because all Slaanesh units have at least some physical resistance. Cathay box builds are so boring. Yeah, I get it. Well, the drum is so strong for box builds. It is. It definitely is. And a lot of people say, yeah, not the most exciting playstyle. I can't say I disagree, but it is a valid playstyle, certainly. And, yeah, unfortunately, Slaanesh here just really didn't have what they needed to pick things apart. They definitely went very much melee only. And, I mean, granted, the ranged devotees aren't going to do a lot to help the situation. I don't think they even necessarily outrange peasant archers, but you could do some stuff, try and disrupt them a little bit, perhaps, and then use some of the ranged devotees or some other units to maybe just try and pull Cathay apart a little bit. Also means immune to fear, no -8 leadership. Yeah, the ROR one gives me the psychology. Oh yeah, no, the basic one gives psychology. That's right. The ROR one gives that magic damage, which, as mentioned, is nice in this matchup. So yeah, Dragash able to win out on that series. I'm going to go through a couple of more series today. I am planning on doing a stream on Monday as well to go through the game, or the round 6, because this has all just been round 5 today. So many replays, honestly, to show you guys. So many great ones. But we've got a couple more, and then, and then I have to run for today. But we'll be back on Monday with another stream, and we'll get through these round 6 games. So let's see here. Group 6. Miravoids versus Tsarix. Let's do that. Am I looking at the wrong one? Oh, yeah, I am. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Miravoid versus Starix. Excellent. Okay. I'm also a basic bitch, and I like Astra Militarum. I like the Guard. Yes, Imperial Guard is by far... I mean, they're like Empire in space, right? So how could I not? How could I not love them? Anyway, Miravoid versus Charix. And we're going to see some Wood Elves versus Tzeentch. Wood Elves versus Tzeentch. Yes, indeed. I'm actually going to go grab a drink of water real quick before we start this. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. All right. Let's get things rolling. We've got Wood Elves versus Tzeentch, and it's looking like some Sisters of Twilight kite-oriented gameplay. We've got some Hagbane Tips Glade Riders as well, a couple of Spear Glade Riders, some Glade Guards here, a few Eternal Guard, and some Spellslinger Shadows. Granted, it's not going to be all kite. We're looking for some melee. Sisters are on their dragon after all. Quickly getting charged down by some Doom Knights. They've also got the Chaos Lord of Tzeentch here. Some Chariots, a whole bunch of Furies, more Doom Knights, Forsaken on the ground, Cultist. Yeah, a lot of mobility, a lot of flying units. Triple Doom Knight, very interesting. More Chaos Knights as well. This Fury currently getting shot up by the magic of Blade Riders. Definitely quite painful, but let's get things rolling. Orcs, yeah, I love space orcs, honestly. I love Warhammer orcs in general. I think they're probably, for me, like my number 2, sometimes number 3 or 4 faction, depending on the time of day and season and everything else. But yeah, generally love Warhammer orcs for their violent slapstick. In particular, the space orcs of 40k are extra unique and fun, and the whole, like, sci-fi orc tech situation is just hilarious to me. I love it, and I love them, and they probably will be my number 2. Probably be Astra Militarum and Orcs as my 2 top factions, which means I'm going to need to learn some micro. I'll be microing a lot of units. 2 horde armies, basically, which is why I've never tried playing them in tabletop. But anyway, we've got some Elkos mystifying miasmas. The flying forces of Tzeentch move in. They're going to try and engage all these archers, range units, tie them down, break them. The Doom Knights in particular are going to be quite dangerous here. Yeah, even the Wild Riders, the Glade Riders, they're not going to really do much to the armor and melee defense of the Doom Knights. So I actually really like the pick of triple Doom Knight here. I think that's very astute and veteran army pick, somebody who really understands the matchup well. Question is, will it end up working? Hard to say. But certainly they've been able to move in and destroy a few units already. Chariots also get some nice damage on those Eternal Guards initially. Forsaken charging in when they don't eat a whole bunch of arrows will do quite a bit of damage, but right now the fire guy, the Cultists of Tzeentch, hanging way back. I think a little bit of a mistake here. No burning head available for this rush situation, which would have really helped to break up some of these initial Eternal Guards. But Doom Knights now fleeing their Eternal Guards have been able to take out basically all the archers, the stationary archers at least. Granted, there were not a lot, but even still. Doom Knights moving over to try and finish off, like, Blade Riders. Yeah, finish off these Eternal Guards as well. It's getting completely outvalued and mowed down. Forsaken will mulch those spears. Yes, they will. Except for the Forsaken that got shot up to pieces. But even then, they'll still trade pretty well as they kind of get into a late engagement. Not super late game yet, but anyway. Yeah, nice chariot charge out in the open field. Eternal Guards can't do much except get mown down. I actually really like the pick of chariots against Wood Elves if you think they're going to be taking a lot of infantry. Chariots are an excellent pick. Especially the Chaos Chariots. They seem to perform quite well here. You don't want to over-index on them. Just one is honestly fine here. But so far being used to pretty good effect. What is also being used to pretty good effect is the arrow that's going directly to the Chaos Lord's face. He is not on his disc, so he can't pursue. Probably wishes he was on the disc right now, honestly, so he could chase Sisters of Twilight up in the air. But Burning Head Boy comes forward. He's going to rip one straight through those Eternal Guards. And the Doom Knights kind of just pulling back a little bit here. Interesting. I'm not really sure why. Might as well keep up the pressure. Have these Doom Knights stay in hot pursuit of the Blade Riders at this point. There's not really a lot to stop them. Maybe he's trying to bait them into a position where the Doom Knights can all, like, surround and rush down the Sisters of Twilight. Hard to say. Oh, looks like they're going to hard land right on the Cultists. Nice bait, potentially, as the anti-large, halberd-wielding Lord of Tzeentch is going to get in there. Magic damage just bypassing the physical resistance of the dragon. Yeah, 20% physical resistance on that dragon, so the magic damage of Tzeentch is painful. That is actually one thing that makes this matchup in particular, any matchup with Tzeentch, but any matchup where you have a lot of physical resistance, but this one in particular, Wood Elves, I mean, they don't like magic damage and they don't like fire damage, and Tzeentch has all magic damage and a lot of fire damage, so microing 2 chariots equals carpal tunnel. Yeah, you only need 1, honestly. And as long as it does enough damage, even if it dies, that's totally fine. Like, you don't really need to worry super hard about keeping it alive, because it's only, what, 850 points? So, yeah, the Tzeentch Chariot, too, if you can get barrier refresh, is quite nice. Having the barrier is definitely a benefit. But, yeah, Tzeentch kind of letting off the pressure a little bit here, moving back to the objective. Maybe they don't feel like they have enough to actually win decisively anymore, but I do think the Doom Knights all grouped up would be just fine. That being said, maybe playing a little bit more for time here as he pulls back to the objective. feeling like he's maybe getting kited a little bit too far out of position, which is somewhat true, but yeah, the Doom Knights, we've got one unit basically completely healthy here. This other unit has taken quite a bit of damage, and maybe the third unit did actually get dispatched. So maybe a reason for the caution of the Tzeentch player here. But as they're pulling back, these Doom Knights will continue to take damage. Eternal Guard might be best basic spear in the game. AP and high leadership. I would disagree. I think they're too expensive, and I think they're too light. Like, their mass is very low. And I mean, granted, most low-tier spears get absolutely decimated by chariots or other, you know, like high-mass charge-oriented units. If they get caught out in the open, they're just going to get deleted. But Eternal Guards in particular get deleted worse, it feels like, than other low-tier spears. Like, Ungor Raiders, for example, don't have nearly the same AP or leadership. They do have Stalk and Vanguard, and they're faster, which helps them keep up with enemy mobile units. I don't know. I just... Personally, I would not say that the Eternal Guards are the best low-tier spears in the game, but that's just me. High Elf ones are also probably a little bit too expensive for what you get out of them. Granted, they're good. Their melee defense and leadership is, like, legit really good, but I don't know. I'm incredibly biased, but I would probably say Empire Spearmen, with shields especially, but just generally Empire Spearmen are incredibly cost-effective because their stats are, like, pretty good, and their cost is pretty low. And, yeah, again, Empire bias probably showing, but Pigback Riders are best spears, actually, no knockdown. Yeah, they also have a decent charge bonus, which means they can be used in some offensive roles as well. But the no knockdown also means they get massacred sometimes. Sometimes it's good to get knocked down. Yeah, I love Ungors. I love Ungors. I think they're great. Ungor Raiders and Ungor Spears in particular. The hand weapon Ungors are not very good, but Ungor Spears, like Vanguard Spear with stock, yes please. That's awesome. Definitely. Their leadership is not great. Their stats are not incredible, but they're just, you know, they're not trying to be more than they are, you know. Eternal Guards are great, but I do feel like then they punch upwards very well. It must be said, when Eternal Guards get good engagements against cavalry or monsters or any kind of large unit, they can trade above their cost, definitely. But against any mid and low tier infantry in particular, they're so bad. And even against those units which they're meant to kill, if they get caught in an open field charge, they're still just going to die. So, yeah. Yeah, Pigbacks are also quite cheap. The Ungor Spearmen are a little bit more expensive than Empire State Troops, right? Mainly just because they have stock and Vanguard, but anyway. Yeah, Tzeentch has been absolutely fighting for their lives. Really great game going as I'm completely talking about things that are not relating to it, but these Doom Knights have been trying to combine with the Chariots and the Forsaken, doing the best they can. Chaos Lord himself got sniped out, but Sisters of Twilight running pretty low on ammunition at this point. They are getting tangled with up in the air by some of the Doom Knights, which might not be the best. The Doom Knights maybe want to fight on the ground with support. Hard to say. Hey, Blade Rider's also starting to run out of steam a little bit here. Forsaken eating a little bit of Melkos, misfying miasma, but it's looking like Wood Elves are about to take it as Terror takes hold. Chain route, and there it is. Elf life, so bad for HP, yes. Yeah, that's my main issue, is they just die so easy. But they definitely can trade well. One unit here gets about 500 damage value, trading against probably like Doom Knights and stuff. Sisters also have life regen. Super hard to kill. Yep, almost 3,000 damage value on them. Getting pretty close to 12,000, almost 13,000 damage dealt, actually. Really, really impressive stuff. Spellweaver of Shadows also contributes some nice value here. So, yeah, excellent game overall. Definitely, Mirror Boy able to take the win. So let's continue on. Hagbane tips. Wow, look at those Hagbane tips value. Really nicely done on the skirmish. We'll continue to the next replay in this series. See if Charix can get back on it. GG indeed. A fun one for sure. Yeah, he got a game off Charix. That was first game of the series, but let's see how it goes. Charix definitely a very, very good player. Miravoy, also a veteran, coming in hot with Balthazar Gelt and the Empire into what I would consider as an Empire main, one of the tougher matchups for the host of men. We've got Lizard Men, of course. Balthazar with a bunch of state troop spears. I mentioned how cost-effective I think they are, and they definitely are. Let's see how they do here. We've got some free company out on the flanks, bunch of huntsmen. Not the best AP, but they do have armor sundering, essentially, with Balthazar here. Plague of Rust. Empire Knights as well. One Reichsguard. Nope, just 5 Empire Knights. No, 1 Reichsguard in the center. Okay. Gonna say, I don't think that's legal. Yeah, Tarx is really good, definitely. And let's see how he can do with the Lisbon. He's got a Skink Priest. Red Crested Skink Chief. Got a Rev Crystal here, a bunch of Cold One Riders, Cold One Spear Riders, which are the main reason why this matchup is not good for the Empire. Skink Cohort Jabs. We've got Red Crests as well. Umbral Tide, Salamander Hunting Pack, and Cold One Riders. Yeah, big old wide lizard line. Not liking Empire's chances already. The build that's going to be incredibly difficult to deal with. But early Overcast Final Transmutation. Interesting. It's not going to get a ton of value as it just hits the Skink Chief, who is actually on foot with no spells or abilities, which means he costs probably about like 600 points, honestly. So it's a really good bait. He just wasted a ton of Winds of Magic on that, honestly, which he definitely needed that Winds of Magic in order to take out these Cold One Riders. Like here, I would actually take... Yeah, he does have Searing Doom. Okay, I would probably prioritize Searing Doom on Cold Ones a lot more than anything else, honestly, here, because that kind of sets up your success in many ways. But a Wild Manticore summon, you don't see that nearly as often these days, but it is pulled up straight into the sky. Skink Priest, Lower Beast, I'd imagine would send it back into the Huntsman. We'll see. But right now, still developing the possible engagements out on the flanks. Yeah, Cold One's moving in, getting an engagement on Empire Knights, and this is the interaction. This is it right here. This is why Lisbon are favored over Empire. Do you see? You see the armor-piercing anti-large cavalry that's somewhat similarly priced to the Empire Knights, just absolutely dominating them in combat? That's it. That's the matchup right there, guys. Now you learned something today. Yeah, you want Empire Knights to kill Skinks, exactly. It's almost like we talked about in one of the previous replays. With Empire, you want to switch your backline and your front line at kind of the last second. Move your Empire Knights to charge the Skinks. Back your spears up to cover against the Cold Ones. But easier said than done, certainly, especially when you're trying to protect this many Huntsmen, who themselves should really be turning and firing. Oh, they get some damage on the Umbral Tide. Not too bad, but yeah, it's just tough to protect this many Huntsmen against the Lizard Cav. They were able to turn and shoot and contribute against the Cold Ones. They might be able to win it out here, but right now, Lismen are surging forth. You can see Empire Knights just losing here, losing there. The Red Crest, also Cohort of Sotek. Excellent support unit for this type of situation. Do get a Plague of Rust on these Cold One Spear Riders, but a Rev Crystal in response. And there's not a lot of follow-up damage to that Plague of Rust. Yeah, Charix back with a vengeance. And I think it'll be a pretty quick victory for the Lizardmen. This is generally lines up with my experience of how this matchup goes for the Empire. This is, I think, a very good demonstration of why this matchup is Lizardman favored, in my opinion. And I think Empire maybe could have played it a little bit better, but let's fast forward. I think this is a pretty foregone conclusion. Balthazar is going to try and do whatever he can with his remaining Empire Knights. But, yeah, some Spearmen, some free company. You know, they're winning out Skinks out in the flanks, but really the meat of the army, the Knights, most of the infantry, and all the Huntsmen have just been completely destroyed. Empire just kind of hanging on, trying to make it respectable, but Lisbon staying smart, staying on the point. Another Overcast Final Transmutation, which basically does absolutely nothing except waste Balthazar's magic, and there you go. I managed to lose this, honestly. Empire short circuits my brain. Yeah, 6 Cold Ones. That's all you need to know. Oh man, 1,000 damage value, 850. Yeah, I mean, 1,000 damage value there, almost 800 there. Yeah, that's the matchup pretty much. That's how it goes, especially when you're as good as Charix is here. But alas, evens up the series. The question is, can Miravoy carry, bounce back to win it all in game 3? He's got Bashiva. Ooh, yeah. We get some tigers for Cathay. Love the tigers, honestly. It's such a nice addition. I think it's super cool. I think there's some random people out there who don't like it. Maybe you're one of them. And that's fine if you don't like it, honestly. You're not a bad person. But I am a big fan. I've always liked playing Khajiit in Skyrim. I like, you know, Tabaxi and D&D. It's cat people. It's fun to have cat people, especially when they are quite good, as Bashiva is. Let's see, against the Skaven is a really interesting choice, and I also like it a lot. Very good anti-infantry, which, you know, Skaven are primarily just infantry. You have a few large units, which we do have some here. Let's take a look at the builds. Warlord on the Bonebreaker. Very unusual choice, but a choice that I like. He does have Molder Monster technically now, because he is on that beast. Hang on, is he on the... Oh, no, not on the Bonebreaker. He's on the Brood Horror. I was going to say he has a regeneration. Okay, that's also interesting. Somewhat unusual, but... yeah, nice. Nice to see that. We've got some Doom Flayers as well. A couple of Night Runners out on the flanks here with some Triads, Skaven Slaves. 3 Rat Ogres through the center, protecting some more Skaven Slaves, some more players. Yeah, then similarly out more Eshin forces on that far flank there. We've got Bashiva. We've got an Astromancer on the Moonbird. Wow. Getting absolutely hog wild with this build here for Cathay. He's got... Bound Moonflare, which is a nice little snare vortex, and also got Wind Blast, Chain Lightning. Oh man, getting real risky with it. It's just straight on in. Astromancer and Bashiva going for the Warlord. Big snipe attempt incoming. Verminous Valor going to be popped. The Lord is forced to pull away, but is he going to be actually fast enough? Bashiva, with her charge animation, can keep up with the Brood Horror, but it looks like without it, it's not going to be able to. Moonbird, though, does move in. Will this be overzealous, though, from Cathay? Doomflayers moving forward. Not a lot to oppose them. We do have one Tiger. Iron Claw. We've got some Jade Warriors up front. Peasant Long Spears behind. Peasant Horsemen. Another Junk. Junks seem to be quite popular so far in this tournament. Very interesting, honestly. But the Flayers come forward. They're going to absolutely wreck Jade Warrior swords. Then the Iron Warriors come through. We've got the Jade Warriors coming through as well. Little Warp Lightning. Boom! Detonates a few of those cavalry and everything else around them. Rat Ogres move in. Oh, yeah. Iron Warriors are perfectly primed for an engagement like this, though. They're going to feast on the Rat Ogres and on the Flayers, potentially. It is a lot for them to have to deal with, but they've got the backup of the Jade Warriors here as well. Balloon also point-blank range, as we have seen in other replays. The closer you get to it, the more dangerous it becomes by jotting down, trying to get some of those Night Runners there. But the Moonbird chases super far. Warlord almost off the field. Bashiva also gets herself into a bit of a pickle. Probably can get out of this just fine, but has taken some damage through the process. A little bit of Chain Lightning on those Triads as they catch up and put in some good support value. They're tearing the armor away from the Astromancer. Focus fire from the Night Runners might actually be able to break him. He does break the Warlord just in time. He's going to scoot away. The movement should allow a lot of those shots to miss, and likely he survives this, but the Astromancer risking it big to try and get the Skaven Lord off the field. This, yeah, just going all out. I love it, honestly. Love to see these players really just scrapping and giving it their all here. Yeah, he's off the field. Skaven Warlord's done, so that's going to be a big leadership hit to the Skaven. Not as big as if he was straight up killed, but still definitely impactful. And the Night Runners here using up a lot of their ammunition. I don't know, are they shooting the Sky Junk? It has so much HP that they're basically not going to be able to kill it with just the 2 of them. So not the most useful here, but Triads getting that concealment bomb. Going to sneak up on something here, potentially. Shiva also continuing to fight these Flayers. Honestly, it's fine for her to just fight the Flayers in the open field rather than them like hitting her infantry, so that's actually pretty good. Peasant Horsemen just get clobbered by the Rat Ogres, but they're buying some time for Bathsheba to continue to get some work done there. Moonbird Boy also coming back from route as another Warp Lightning gets dropped. Yes. Yes. Skaven. They are somewhat on the run, but they've still got quite a few tools alive here still. Howling Warp Gale from that Lore Ruin caster, which is somewhere around here. There's the engineer. There he is. And the Moonbird, a little bit more fire from the Night Runners. Will it be able to finish him off? He is hard snared there. He's going to respond with a little Wind Blast. And one Night Runner is actually out of ammunition, so I don't know. 2 more volleys from this Night Runner probably is not enough to finish him off. And he does get some, yeah, did he get some healing there from something? Anyway, Cloak of Pome giving him some power recharge rate over time as well. Oh yeah, there is a Claw Speaker of Life here. I totally forgot. He's been here the whole time. Yeah, he's got just Regrowth here and the Mantra of Invocation, which can heal mostly only himself or the Iron Claws, which definitely could use some healing right now if he could run over there and pop it off. But yeah, most of the Skaven build has been pretty well dispatched. I mean, it's a lot of low-tier, kind of battered units running around. He's got some Rat Ogres here. They're going to get Death Frenzy as they move in to try and finish off these Jade Lancers. Unfortunately, the Death Frenzy doesn't give them any defensive stats, so they're still going to get hit on the charge, but they have massive weapon strength and melee attack to be able to win once the prolonged engagement gets underway. Let's swing back over here. Oh, I guess, yeah, the Heal of Kamau can actually be used. Mantra of Invigoration can be used on Bathsheba herself, which is actually what it should be used for here. But, yeah, Triads getting routed. Got Peasant Horsemen chasing down the Night Runners in the open field. Managed to protect Moonbird. Bird Bro. Remembering to use his little free bombardment there, the Moon Flare. Does manage to snare a few Yeshan Triads who are getting routed off. But yeah, Skaven running for the hills right now. It's looking like Charix, especially with the Skaven, incredibly scary. I see. Would he consider himself a Skaven main? Somebody would have to let me know on that. But definitely incredibly scary Skaven player. And we'll see. The regrowth on the Moonbird Lord does make him quite healthy again. Nice little rear charge there for Terror Route. And more rockets landing at long range, trying to go after those Triads. Doom Flares charge in, gonna get a decent engagement, but Bathsheba also with her cavalry just chasing a good contingent of the Skaven straight off the side of the field. Junk is out of rockets at this point. The Iron Warrior is also kind of just resting here in the woods for the time being, but honestly, Moonbird Bro's got this by himself. He's gonna blast some magic. That's enough to trigger army losses. And there you go, victory for Cathay. Cat Mama basically counters all Skaven Lords. It's true. It's true. There's not actually like any. I'm trying to think through Skaven Lord choices. I don't think there's anyone other than Rod of Corruption. What is it, Liber Bubonicus boy? But even then, he doesn't have the stats to win that. He's just purely relying on his magic to do it. And I don't, with the Claw Speaker of Life on the field, I don't think that's enough damage to actually finish her off. So, yeah, GG, well played, very well done to Miraboy. Love the Cathay picks, particularly there at the end. And able to prevail over a very, very good player. Well played to Charix as well. Let's take a look. Yeah, Moonbird Bro, great value on that. I actually really like the pick here in this matchup. Kind of unusual, but I do like it. Bathsheba also gets some really nice value there. Claw Speaker of Life doesn't have to do a ton, but does contribute nicely. The Iron Warriors right in the center, helping to repel players. Yeah, really well constructed build, honestly. The Rockets contribute some value as well. So maybe Deathmaster can beat her. Now they have healing. I actually don't think Deathmaster beats her because she has magic damage and anti-infantry. I think she has enough health that she can weather his attacks and just kill him, like in a 1v1. I don't know. Maybe he wins like 30% of the time, but I have to test. But my gut instinct tells me that Bathsheba can do that just fine. Like she'll take some damage, but I think she eventually win that actually. Maybe, yeah. Anyway. Got one more series to get through today, and then that'll be it for this replay. Well, yeah. Let's see here. Got a Crabling? Yeah, Chain Soldier versus Crabling. Love me some Crabling gameplay. Been very enjoyable to watch him play battles over many years. Way back, even in Warhammer 1, I remember playing battles against him. But yeah, nice to see he's still hanging around. And wow, look at this. Look at this mirror build here. Look at this absolute mirror build. Degenerate Wood Elf mirror. That's almost identical. Crabling just has a couple of Eternal Guards with shields. And that's basically the main difference between the build. A couple Starfire shafts on Chain Soldier's side. But let's not get too hard into the builds. Let's just fast forward as this tree mirror gets underway. Crabling gonna slide his forces up, and we've got some Pit of Shades already being unleashed. Already some shooting happening as well. Glade Guards in the bow fight of their lives. Absolutely loving the light show so far. Was that a little Dryad summon right in the enemy lines? Yeah, Malevolent Dryads breaking up the advance, and just, again, clean, honorable 1v1 charge. Dryads versus Dryads. One's a little more green, one's a little more tan. And that's how the world goes sometimes. They kill each other, but she has more HP. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, is they kind of designed to kill each other, but I think she just has more HP, so she probably wins. You're gonna flip deployments? Yeah, seriously. They're kind of dancing around each other. But a nice big engagement so far. Red Dryka punching through the center. That Malevolent Dryad summon was able to win out, and now is pressuring in the back line here. It looks like also same thing basically happened in reverse. Some Eternal Guards getting killed on both sides. I mean, Glade Guards, rather. Lots of Glade Guards getting killed on both sides. But who has the most still online? It looks like Green Team has the most Glade Guards still alive at this point after that initial engagement. So they have lots of opportunities to turn and shoot. But the Dryads are pressing. Nice little charge from the Red Dryads here. We've also got the Glade Riders and Wild Riders forcing the flank over on this side. Some true mobility. Maybe is responded to by the mirror here on green. We're gonna get a little engagement here. Wild Riders hit the Glade Riders, and then get hit by the Wild Riders, who the Glade Riders actually nope out of, and they're gonna go hit these other Wild Riders. Nice Pit of Shades also on the Glade Guard. Yeah, Melkoth's mystifying miasma there. So it seems like Red is losing the mobility fight, which is not great. Yeah, you can see multiple Glade Guards also come back from route over here. Not noticed quite yet, but they will turn and shoot now. Try and pick off those Glade Riders. Yeah, if all these 4 archers could get secure and like set up a nice little firing line, they'd be able to amass some good quantity of fire and be able to start to roll up the rest of the blue army, which is itself very much securing this location. Yeah, blue ahead on the balance of power, which definitely matches what we see on the battlefield here. Continue fast forward a little bit, because honestly, it's a Wood Elf mirror with basically the same armies. Dryka, there's the single entity engagement. RNG I'm always talking about. I mean, granted, one Dryka was getting shot by a lot of arrows, as you can see, so that's part of it. But then also, you know, the RNG of single entity combat, one Dryka just decisively wins against another. And Crabling with the early victory on the absolutely degenerate Wood Elf mirror that we can very quickly move past. Not too much to talk about here. Let's go on to the next replay. Yeah, mirrors are maybe a little bit boring. They are something that can happen, certainly. But let's see here. Next, we've got Beastman versus the Greenskin. Yes, yes, yes. Honestly, have not been seeing enough Orcs and Goblins for how strong of a faction I think they are. Definitely not the best faction, but I would put them probably solidly like B tier, maybe. Definitely have quite a few decent matchups. They don't have too many really terrible matchups. Yeah, I love the Spider Shrine as well. Definitely one of my favorite lords in the game. Good old Goblin Great Shaman. We've got Orc Boy Spears as well. Goblin Spears. We've got some Orc Error Boys. And Rugblood's Armored Orcs. Savage Orc Boar Boys. Boar Boy Biggins. Broken Tusk Mob. Looks like the Swamp Things. Goblin Big Boss. Just everything you would want. Very, very nice, strong Orc and Goblin build. As for the Beastmen, a rogue Gorbol with Chimera and Malagor leading the way. Mix of Ungors and Slangors up front. Ungors throwing axes as well. Yeah, well, the stream actually looks really nice. I haven't streamed, I don't think, since I got my new graphics card. Maybe once. Man, the stream quality actually looks good. On my preview, at least. Hopefully you all agree that it looks nice. But I should be ready to go for 40k. I'm hoping this rig doesn't need any additional upgrades. 40k comes. But, yeah. Let's see here. Fast forward a little bit as the Beastmen make their approach. Gonna summon up a Cygor on the flank here. Crabling, looking to apply some pressure at range, but I do think, will he just immediately be throwing into a tree right in front of him? Oh, no, it actually passes through. Okay. Swing and a miss there on that Rugblood's Armored Orcs, though. Meantime, Goblin Great Shaman's just kind of broadcasting a little bit of damage with his Vindictive Glares. Vindictive Glare on these cavalry actually would be really nice. Technically, I think it has a little bit of anti-large bonus. But Rugblood's there. Like, 2 of the models get hit by that rock. Malagor also moving in. Yeah, let's see. Gorbol looking like he wants to just come charge down these Orc Air Boys. Getting a little crazy, getting a little far forward from any support resources. Interesting. Yeah, oh boy, here we go. Goblin Big Boss. And just tie down Gorbol, and then the spider comes. I mean, Gorbol's anti-large, don't get me wrong, but the spider's also anti-large. Definitely wants none of that smoke. A little bit of range fire, though, and Flock of Doom and the Broken Tusk Mob are suffering pretty badly. Nice job kiting with those throwing axes. Beastmen do have control of the objective as well, so even as they're kiting, they're also taking up victory points. Summon Cygor is just about to run out. Let's check the value on him to see the value of the spell. Yeah, less than 200 damage value. Not particularly great for a spell, but especially a spell of that cost, but it's, you know, something. It also tactically has kind of pulled the greenskins a little bit out of position, where a lot of their value units are all loaded up on this right side, leaving the left pretty exposed. That being said, the Beastmen also have a lot of their stuff over on this side, so they don't really have a way to quickly capitalize, try and break some of these units, but yeah, greenskins. Looks like the Boars are going to try and force an engagement here. They do get on some of the Centaurs. Hounds also jumping in. Throwing axes somehow get involved in this engagement, and then very quickly going to want to pull away there. We see a summoned Cygor right in the melee engagement, but the cavalry engagements tend to flow pretty quickly, so they kind of just flow immediately away from the Cygor and leave him in the dust. Standing there, he'll probably still get to throw some rocks, but ooh, Spite of the Bad Moon coming up here. It's going to apply that nasty curse to the Poison Warhounds and also to the Centaurs, minus melee defense, armor, and speed. Really nasty debuff, honestly. I think a lot of people forget that Spite of the Bad Moon has that debuff. Look at that new-ish animation. Very cool, floating around the battlefield there. Yeah, Cygor also pounding some rocks in this engagement. Swamp Things get involved with the Goblin Big Boss together. They're doing a great job taking down Gorbol. Mara jumps in on this mobile engagement. We got Centaurs galore. Boars being routed. Meanwhile, the Slanesh Boars are also moving forward to get in a nice little melee engagement. But a lot of the value is tied up in this big cav battle, so let's keep it right here. Yes, the spider is bullying Gorbol, who himself is perpetually getting knocked over. He doesn't get sent quite as flying quite as far as he once did, but still. Nice wah being popped. Pretty opportune time to get some good damage on a bunch of high-value units. Even the Chimera here getting surrounded by Orc Warboy Biggins. Nice Flock of Doom, though. Really, really nice Flock of Doom. Hits the entire cavalry force of the Greenskins remaining. Malagor feasting pro value there. But, yeah, Gorbul's being punished. Can't believe it. Goblin Big Boss just getting all the support. Not taking a fair engagement. Very Goblin of him. Nice little cycle charge there. Take advantage of the charge bonus, but boom, gets hit big in return. It's, yeah, first big couple of hits he's taken from Gorbul. Definitely is not a match for him in a clean 1v1 like this. Oh, Goblin Big Boss. He's done for. Gorbul pops Foe Seeker. Scent of blood. Strong. That being said, the Chimera is taken down. Malagor jumps down onto the ground to try and assist Centaurs in getting the Broken Tusk Mob, but Spider the Bad Moon, yes! 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 I love the spell so much. Can't get enough of it, honestly. Even if it hits Malagor, it's maybe the only Vortex that's actually good against single entities, because it applies a really nasty debuff, which is very much relevant in single entity engagements. Anytime you can debuff melee defense, in particular for single entity engagements, it's a good thing, but Centaur is getting routed straight off the side. Yeah, the Green Tide has all the units on the field. Let's fast forward as the Beastmen make their final stand. A very respectable charge, teaming up and taking down the Ruglud's armored orcs. Orc crossbows getting smashed and routed. And Gorbul actually now formed up with a little bit of support, getting some stuff done, but ultimately army losses takes hold. Can't hang. And it's a victory. Yeah, victory. Very impressively done for Chain Soldier. And manages to win that. Manages to get 1-1 on the series. 2,800 gold value. 17,000 damage dealt. Almost 18,000 damage dealt. For the big spider guy. Again, one of my favorite lords in the game. Generic lords in the game. Just excellent, really. Can do so much for you up on that big spider mount. Boars also contribute some nice value. Crabling himself, though. Yeah, it just has a little bit of a tough time really getting at the meat of this build, and ultimately loses pretty decisive single entity engagements. Gorbul just really letting him down there, but yeah, such is life. Let's go now to game 3 between these two. And then that will be the day today. So thank you all so much for coming out. It's been way too long since I've streamed for you all. I've definitely enjoyed doing this today. It's been so much fun. So we'll definitely be doing it again very soon. Again, Monday, I'm planning on streaming some of the round 6 games. We'll do a similar format to today. I'll probably start that stream a little bit later in the day. Might be a little bit late for you Europeans, unfortunately, but be a nice nightcap for you before you go to bed. Regardless, okay. Crabling versus Chain Soldier, Game 3, Crabling with the Cathay. Once again, we see the single Iron Claw, very nice. 5 Peasant Long Spears up front. We got 4 shotguns, 3 Peasant Horsemen, 2 Lancers, and 3 Crowmen. No ROR, probably didn't quite have enough to be able to afford it. Krokgar on the opposite side. We've got a Rogue Quaddle alongside some Croxagors, bunch of Cold One Spear Riders, bunch of Skink Javs. Heaven's Skink up in the sky, curiously. I don't know why. I don't know. For me, the Skink priests are so cheap on foot. Their base price is so cheap. And they're fast. They're fast enough on foot. And they're small. They're just a small little boy. Especially against Cathay. I don't see them necessarily at risk of being sniped here. I don't see a lot of reason otherwise why you would put them on the Pterodon. It's enough cost extra that it just makes him that much less cost effective. But wow, look at the deleting of the Crowmen. I've never thought to chose the Hand of the Gods against Crowmen, but that scatter shot just absolutely blasts them. Skink Priest of Heavens. Again, this is he's almost more at risk of getting sniped up in the air because of the Crowmen than he would be on the ground, right? Just needs to fly in range of the javelins. Yeah, you can see the Crowmen wisely peeling off before they get in range to get pelted by Skinks. Skink Peltists. Could you imagine Skink Royal Peltists? That'd be so cool. I do feel there's one unit type missing in Warhammer, and that's an elite javelin of any kind. I mean, I guess technically you got like Sisters of Thorn, but it's not like they have like really good armor-piercing javelins, right? I'm talking like Jeanette's, Boyar's sons, like good armor-piercing javelin cavalry. Again, we've got horse masters, but they're not like elite tier by any means, right? At most, they're like tier in terms of cost. So yeah, I think elite javelin cavalry would be super cool. Again, I don't think there's any faction in Warhammer that actually has such a thing, but that would be cool. Elite javelin infantry would be really cool. Just massive anti-large AP infantry, like elite, you know, marauder champs with javelins or something. But keep hoping for javelin centaurs. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, more jav cavalry is always cool for sure. Yeah, we need Peltis. We need some kind of Peltis equivalent. Very good with their javelins and also like a decent in melee kind of hybrid unit, right? That would be so cool. So cool. Anyway, big melee engagement getting underway. Maybe. Yeah, Crabling just holding his ground for the time being. Yeah, meanwhile, Chain Soldier's aggressively pursuing out on the flanks. He's trying to get into a position to basically get a full surround, but really nice response. Not letting himself get surrounded, just actively defending here. Crabling sending these Iron Claws. He's got Onyx Crowmen. He's going to send in some Peasant Horsemen and Jade Lancers as well. Just zoning out this entire force from the rest of the army. Very nicely done, but a nice Chain Lightning hits these Iron Hails. Isn't going to be a crazy amount of value, but it's something. Meanwhile, the Lismen are actually getting into contact over on their right flank on Cathay's left. Quaddle getting into combat, doing some damage here. Eating some shotgun rounds, though, unfortunately. These skinks definitely need to just run in melee and tie down these Iron Hails to prevent them from blasting the Quaddle any more than they already have. But Cold Ones in the back also getting tangled up. Peasant Horsemen not able to win that fight by any means. Some shotguns also getting routed there as they get blasted by magic. Rockar hanging back, not really sure where he wants to engage quite yet, but yeah, this sort of pursuit over here turned into a bit of a rout as Cathay was able to use that Peasant Horseman and Crow speed to actually catch and kill a bunch of units. Yeah, Skink Priest of Heavens up in the sky. I think he actually hard landed there, which is a smart move, but even still, would have been better to just keep him on foot and keep him next to Krokar, basically. But yeah, Zhao Ming here in dragon form, absolutely terrorizing Lisman units, able to break some individual engagements. Another Chain Lightning going off, this one from the Quaddle. Gonna do some really nice damage to the Cathayan infantry there. Yeah, just sort of sparks itself right on top of those long spears. Krokar charge gets canceled on Zhao Ming as he pops back up into the air, but I would imagine lands on the Quaddle. Definitely want to see Krokar go and deliver a rear charge right there to try and get that nice 2v1 single entity engagement. Right now, definitely anyone's game, but I do feel the Lisbon letting themselves get picked apart on that flank engagement was pretty tough. They're going to lose some value there. The Iron Claws also are basically unopposed, haven't taken really any damage at all. And very smart transform for Zhao Ming to basically negate the anti-large bonus of Krokar as they battle it out. Not allow himself to be that big target. And also allows more of the Jade Lancers to get in range to support because he's not taking up so much space. A really, really smart transform there. We're also going to see the final transmutation coming from Zhao Ming, also not available in dragon form. So yeah, devastation by Cathay. We've seen some really strong Cathay gameplay in this tournament so far. And this is definitely looking to be one. Yeah, it's looking like Crabling is going to lock this thing down. Krokar, no support. Battling it out. Zhao Ming doing some fancy flips and stuff. Summoning some swords. Yeah, Iron Claws. Staying close. Krokar pulls away. Got some Feral Cold Ones here. But Quaddle just continuously getting blasted by Iron Hails. Very uncomfortable situation as it kills like one random unit model that was forward from the unit. Cold-Blooded popped on it to keep its leadership up. It's going to eat a few more shots before charging straight through the Iron Hails. Yeah, that attack animation most unfortunate because they can like turn and shoot every time it goes through them, basically. Quaddle's animations are often quite painful, but it's going to drop a charge on Jiao Ming. Krotgar tries to finish, but nope, army loss is looming, and that's going to be it for the Lizardmen. Cathay build getting pulled apart, no yin and yang. Yeah, I mean, they didn't have a ton of yin and yang to start, besides, I guess, the Crowmen and the shotguns, which is a decent, I suppose, but yeah, ultimately, just very much got picked apart, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, the Jade Lancers, the fact that they just got good engagements, like, I really think Chain Soldier here, like, I get why you would take the Kroxigors. In theory, they're good against Cathay and infantry, but especially with the Iron Claws now, I just would probably go with more cavalry instead. I really think he would have been better served to have maybe Cold One Spear Riders in their place, or just more Cold Ones in general. He only had really 2 Cold One cavalry, a lot of ferals, which against this much mobility for Cathay was definitely going to struggle, but has Tav ever streamed before? Yes. It's just not in a very long time. But anyway, that's it for me for today, actually. Thank you all so much for joining. I'm going to be streaming again on Monday. We're going to go through the round 6 group games, and hopefully by then I'll have an announcement about who's moving on from which bracket. Speaking of bracket, let's go ahead and just go through the last few groups one more time before I sign off. So we went through the first 4. Now if we go to group 5 and go to the standings here, Drugosh, we saw there, actually is able to go 5-1 in his group, so very well done. Azek, RMM also. Sipa, Kokino, Alfredinho, Solmir also. Yeah, quite a few. Catholic Alcoholic helps with the balance recommendations. Quite a few players. This is another pretty stacked group, honestly. But, yeah, very nicely done to Drugosh there, who we saw win 1 series. Then if we go to group 6, check out the standings here. And Miravoy 6-0, perfect on the series, or on the round rather. Attack Speed Enjoyer also doing quite well. Rolflan, Akane both prevailing in many of their series. Charix 4-2 did a nice job there. Chosen One also doing quite nicely. Kark, haven't seen him active in the game in quite some time. Managed to go 3-3 alongside Seagauze and General Eisenbart. Yeah, a lot of great players. A lot of great players. This one seemed like it had a few people drop out from the group, which does happen in a tournament of this size. That's one reason why the Swiss format is nice, though, because you can games, doesn't mess up the bracket too much. Anyway, in group 7, Flower, ODM now, Flower is doing a nice job. I don't know what these characters are exactly, but this player also does quite well. I'm assuming it's Chinese, maybe Korean. I can't tell, honestly. My apologies. Zurahan, Crabling also doing quite well, 5-1. Chain Soldier with the 4-2. Persian Warrior. Yeah, was there any other like XMT? Yeah, we've got Albrecht Bordelot, some more VM players, RTK. Yeah, interesting group for sure. And then the group we didn't actually end up showing a video or a replay from today, but I will get a replay for Monday for one of these series. Inkars, nice, 5-0, perfect for Inkars, another XMT stalwart. Chosen here. Chosen. Got some more Chinese players apparently also doing quite well. Let's see. Yeah, so fun stuff. Quite a few recognizable names going on, prevailing in their groups and going on to the next stage, no doubt, given how well they did. But I'm curious to see once the final announcement comes out, who all gets through to the next stage. But it's been such a pleasure to cast these games for you today. Again, we're going to go through round 6 next time, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much for watching. It's been my pleasure to bring you these battles today. Hopefully you all have a great rest of your weekend. See you Monday. Thanks. Bye-bye.